All right. So I got. All right. So I feel like I should call you Mr. Moser.
I think you should call me Bill
Okay. All right. I just feel
because I
like
wouldn't call you.
no. I don't think you should. I was a kid walking around
Well, but
Lincoln Way, and you were one of the teachers. I just
my
feel
my
weird.
rule
I
is
see you on Facebook, and I'm like, all right, there's Bill Moser, but
it's
I
Moser anyway.
Moser. Okay.
Yeah,
I
it's
know.
even though it's
There
not
you go.
spelled that way.
All right. All right. There you go. That'll teach me something.
Yeah, it's Bill.
Okay, all right. So I've got Bill Mosier here, and Bill taught English at Lincoln Way. How many years?
33.
33 years. And now that must be the thing to retire at 33, right? Because Mark Rudiger's retiring this year, and it's been 33 years, I believe, also.
At the time I retired, you had to have your age and the number of years teaching had to equal, I want to say 85.
Oh, that's a point system sort of a deal.
Sort of, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure how it works now because they've changed everything.
Sure.
And I retired at 55 because I didn't want to be one of the embittered old bastards I was teaching with.
You said, yeah. There was some of those.
I still loved what I was doing, and I was still ambulatory.
Now, could you have stayed? Could you just?
Oh, I could have stayed till 68.
Is that? Oh, wow. And how?
I could have been doddering around and yelling at kids to get off my grass.
Right. So do you see that a drop in performance or effectiveness once people get to be in their 60s and stuff like that as a teacher?
Oh, what a good question. I think it depends on the person. It's entirely individual.
Right. Well, I mean, I hear a lot about when I hear about the pink room or something like that in Chicago, the Chicago school system, where teachers are tenured, but the big problem is we can't let them go, right? So once they're tenured, you can't fire them, but they turn out to be terrible teachers. So they've got some room. I saw it on
Oh, really?
news segment that all these teachers that are terrible teachers go sit in this room for the school day time, read books, do whatever they do, and they don't teach.
That's criminal.
It sounds criminal, sounds terrible, but there's people. So I coach. I've been coaching for 8 years, and there are definitely people who should not be coaching kids.
Absolutely. Coaching anybody, probably.
I would venture to guess that there's teachers that should have no
Absolutely.
business teaching.
Yeah. And it's not easy to get rid of a teacher.
Right.
But it's not impossible at all.
Oh no. Okay. That was
When
the
I was
view I
teaching,
was given was that's a
yeah,
possibility.
one of the far western suburbs, I want to say Yorkville, but it's been a long time, contacted the state superintendent, who contacted Lincoln Way, and they suggested that I would be good to go mentor this person. She'd been a first-year teacher for 22 years.
What? How?
She just never got any better. You open the book, and it has the questions down the side, and they're dreadful questions, but you ask those questions.
Right. Now, I think there's a certain talent to teaching, but really, should someone be 20 like that long and they can't get the hang of it?
And so I went and I talked with her, and why don't you try this? And I look at your classroom, and if you did this and this and this, maybe that would help. Have you thought about that?
Right.
And she refused to change. But because she was put on remediation for a year, I followed her through that year. I was there once a month or so. And nothing happened. She was just as bad when she started as she was
Now,
when she...
is it a heart thing that they just don't have the like when I'm teaching
I think it's
somebody?
a brain thing.
Is it? Yeah, because when I'm teaching somebody something, so I was a general contractor, and I kind of like realized when I was general contracting, I was always hiring these young guys, and I didn't want to hire. I'd always get old guys. When I say old guys, they're probably guys in their like mid 30s. But construction for me,
That's old. Yeah.
I was 23 when I opened my business. When I get a 32-year-old guy calling me, I'm like, you're too old. There's no way you're going to want coffee breaks and you're just going to like be lazy and everything else. And I wanted you to do things. There's so many guys in construction that do a shoddy job. That's why that whole stereotype exists. That I didn't want that. I wanted someone that I could, you're going to do exactly my way, and we're going to do it.
And you can trust them.
Yeah, I can trust them.
You can be Mike Holmes.
Right. I'm going to get the phone call, and when the roof leaks or when the tile comes up or something like that, and I don't want that call. So like if it's just done right, and I learned early on, if there is, new material out there to use, or if there is a certain thing that guys used to do things that would drive me nuts. We, there's on a roofing system, you could, back in the day, now it's so much better. There's a brand new paper that's way nicer. But you could either choose between a 15 weight or a 30 weight felt paper for the roof. It's just infused paper with tar, but if the 30 weight was twice as much, it cost twice as much. You put twice as much down because you got less coverage, but it worked so much better. But guys would skimp on that little thing that would probably save them all of $150, but you're worried now that you're going to have a leak or anything like that. And then the water and ice filament, they would skip that. And I'm like, what? Are you out of your mind? Like, spend the $75 and you don't have to worry about the valleys leaking, all this other stuff.
It's your name on it.
It's my name on it. So I'd hire all these young guys, and then I would teach them to do things the way that I wanted it done. And I started to kind of realize that when I saw other contractors and their help, that I was better at teaching my guys stuff than they were at teaching their guys stuff.
Yeah.
And I think I always spent time, even when I coach now, I try and coach to an objective. So I don't just show the kid what I want him to do. I explain to him why he needs to do it like this. And if he does it the other way, this is going to happen and everything else. And then parenting wise, I was forced to, I wouldn't say forced. I really didn't plan on like beating my kids. Like I see these Facebook stuff on there all the time, and I've bitched about it before on the podcast. I don't like the whole, there's people that think society's ruined because people don't beat their children. And I roll my eyes exactly. I'm like, you have to be kidding me. Like that's, and I give them the analogy of, hope I'm using the right word, analogy with the English teacher, of if your favorite color was red and mine was blue, and we were talking and you said your favorite color was red, and I said, no, it's going to be blue, how many times do I have to punch you before it's blue? And it's an unlimited amount of times, because the more I punch you saying it's going to be blue, the more it's not going to be blue. So I don't understand why you would take that same approach with, say, a 4-year-old. I understand like putting a little bit of fear in them when they're little, like getting a little loud or something like that, or letting them know that you're really, like, it's dangerous to put the fork in the outlet, so you got to get a little bit loud. But knocking them on their ass is not going to, like, for me, that wasn't the way to do it.
And although the electricity will.
Right, that will do it on its own. We'll thin the herd that way. But with my sons, I was always taking the time to explain it in long form as to why you will die, you will, this kind of thing. And then even with everything else, I learned that saying to my sons that I'm very disappointed is sometimes more hurtful than giving them a...
That's the worst thing you can say.
Oh, yeah. Like, I mean, I can't believe how disappointed I am in you about this and everything else. And I think that parents just fly into a fit of rage and they want to whack a kid or whatever like that. And then a lot of it's over, you're mad that they broke your stuff, or like, and it's all just nonsense. But
the milk spills, no matter what happens.
I see some parents in the coaching. That's where I get a connection that's the same, I would guess, as a teacher, because I have to interact with the parents. You had a son that...
And it's different now than when I was teaching.
Oh, why is that?
Because of email.
Oh, yeah, they're more
constant.
I
had a friend... Oh, it's constant. Yeah, yes, I had a friend after I quit teaching who would hand out grades. She taught in Hinsdale, 8th grade. She'd hand out her grades on a test, and before the class period was up, she'd start getting phone calls and emails. Why did my student get a B+ instead of an A+?
I got a funny story for that too. I'm the opposite of that. I always took a funny approach to my whole parenting thing. Like I was afforded time because I broke my neck to really think about being a parent and like what I was going to do and how I was going to go about things. And my complete parenting philosophy is, if I see that you're doing something well, I'll make it more difficult, because I'm going to put obstacles in front of you until
you're going to get better.
Yes. I'm almost going to be such a pain in your ass that when you get a boss, he's going to be like a cool breeze. Like, it's so nice to have this guy be my boss. Like, I'm not easy on my sons when we're working construction all summer. I'm not easy about anything. My sons were in 2nd grade, and I had to go to Anna McDonald School for parent-teacher conferences. And my sons had straight A's in everything. And I went in there.
Well, they weren't being challenged, were they?
Yes, that was my point. I went in there and I said, hey, she said, oh, your kids are doing great. Peyton and Garrett are terrific. And I'm like, that's fine.
They're twins, right?
Yes. I go,
Yeah.
I have an issue, though. And she goes, oh, my God, what's the issue? She goes, usually I have people in here that are, their kids are failing and they've got problems. And I go, oh, there are kids that are failing. That's a relief because I live with these people. They're not this bright and they have straight A's. So explain to me how they have straight A's. And she's like, she couldn't even believe that this was the conversation we're having. And I'm like, listen, I just want to make sure that my kids are in a school where they're being challenged. Because if they're not being challenged, then I'll find another place for them to be. Because, like I said, I live with them. They are not this bright. This is not, at no time did I ever look at my sons and go, you might be a genius. And you've got a straight A's. Like, there's no room for improvement here. So yeah, no, I see memes with that stuff on social media too, that parents come in, little Johnny's failing and they're mad at the teacher, which makes zero sense to me. Like,
of course.
Right. And
What
then
the hell is Johnny doing?
I've had parents say things, our teachers tell me that parents would say things like, your kid's in first grade and doesn't know the ABCs, and they're like, well, that's your job. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's totally
They should know
my
that
job.
by the time they get there.
Oh, for sure. Right. I mean,
Before they enter kindergarten, they ought to know that.
just the toys you hand them have the ABCs.
Sesame Street. You're always putting them in front of the flickering blue babysitter.
Yes, right.
Watch Sesame Street.
Now, that's another thing that is far worse now than it ever was. Parents just hand that kid a tablet.
Oh, I know. It's
and
terrible.
Boom.
And Sesame Street was wonderful and horrible because all it did was reinforce short attention spans.
Yeah.
Their whole thing was, kids don't watch the program, but they watch the commercials, so we're going to make everything short. Well, I remember
Yeah, look at
when
the
the
adults
first
we have now.
kids,
They're all
the first
horrible.
kids who came in, who'd started in as little on Sesame Street, I had to be the entertainer and keep them occupied.
Sure.
Suddenly,
You need to go
it was
over to
amazing.
Oscar and Bernie and Ert,
Yeah.
Ert and Bernie, or wow. And then that translated to people who can't read an article. They look at the headline, or they look at the 30-second segment on the news, and they're irate.
Or have their advisors
They're-
write them a one-page summary of the 50-page book
Oh,
and hope they get it.
Good golly! Wow! Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
we aren't going to get into politics today.
No. Yeah, I'll tell you what, that's a pretty easy place for me to go. I enjoy political conversations. I really do. And I mean, I'll tell you what, a political conversation with you would probably be interesting for me, but not as interesting as one if I get a Trump supporter to come talk to me, like someone who's, because I am not irate with them. I'm not aggravated with them. I'm more fascinated by how you can have this cognitive dissonance. I mean, some of these people, there's a family through wrestling that they're probably some of the nicest people I've ever met. Like, I really enjoy everything about them, and they are like straight up dressing up as Trump and Hillary and in stripes, and like they are off the charts Trump. Like, they think he's Elvis. Like, it's
Well, I
crazy
think he is Elvis, and that's part of the problem.
well, he's not Elvis to me. I like Elvis, and there's nothing appealing about that guy.
But he's a big showboat. He's the entertainer. He's
right.
Yeah.
But I do not understand Donald Trump from the start. I understand the appeal that they have, but when I look at it, I go, everything you like about him is fake. It's not real. Like, it's not a thing. Like, I don't know if they understand that The Apprentice was a set. Like, in the 80s, they did interviews with Donald Trump in his office. It was a table and a mess, and it was like he was his own publicist. He was calling and being John Barron or whatever and faking it.
Yeah.
Like, he's a huckster. He's a con man for sure. And they believe everything.
Montebank.
Yeah. I Barnum and Bailey a little too. Like, I made a little career after high school of going to bars and then looking at a guy and thinking, nah, you ain't the guy. So, like, if you're every guy fronts like he's the guy. but most of them ain't the guy. So then we'd go out in the parking lot and he'd find out he wasn't the guy. So, but I was always sizing guys up, always. So, there was something in the eyes, and I mean, there were some crazy bastards that I got into it with, but then there were other guys that I could just tell by the way they moved and stuff. Could you handle yourself or not? By the end, I was fairly seldom wrong. And I look at Donald Trump and I just see this colossal wimp, this guy who daddy fought all my battles for me and everything. And there are guys that I know that I enjoy spending time with. I think they're terrific people. They think this guy's a tough guy. This guy, I had a wrestling coach talking about he probably would have made an awesome wrestler. And I'm like, are you out of your mind? This guy hasn't done a hard day of work in his life.
Right.
So, no. But I know we can get way into that, but I don't want to.
I would just like some grace and dignity in the office.
Well, that too. So that's another one that it boggles my mind. They say stuff like you have to have respect for the office, but I'm like, but the guy that's in the office has no respect for the office. How am I supposed to do this when this buffoon, he's calling people fat pigs and like he's making fun of
he's got a
handicap
terrible nickname for
reporters.
everybody.
He's got an awful, and they're not even like
George
original.
W. Bush gave people nicknames,
Yeah,
but
they were
kind nicknames.
Yes,
they weren't snarky.
What was the Barbara Boxer was like Ali or something like he would make up things that had something to do with them.
Yeah, and were at least a little bit clever.
Yeah, I don't think
he was not my favorite president, but he looks good in the meantime. Anyway,
that Trump has been sure elevated him for sure.
Yeah.
People forget that dude's a war criminal, so I mean he should not be elevated. But back to the teaching thing because we're going to go.
Yeah, edit all that out.
Yeah. No. So it's an art as far as it goes, and I mean I think
It takes a while to learn to be a good teacher too.
I would think so. Yes, right.
The first 2, 3, 4, 5 years are a huge embarrassment to me.
Oh, really?
Oh, I didn't know what I was doing.
Right, but I mean, can't you still muddle through it? Can't you
Well, I did muddle through.
Right. I mean, do you still have success stories from those times, or did people bomb out of stuff because I had some poor teachers that definitely did not help me in school.
Yeah, I don't know whether I have success stories from then or not.
Oh no, yeah. I mean, it's got to be
I haven't kept in touch with those kids.
right. Now, I know that you keep in touch with, I'm friends with Carl. That guy, I think he's terrific.
He is
I
terrific.
enjoy him. Definitely had some good conversations with him and his wife.
Yeah, Kelly's wonderful.
Yeah,
too.
in person and
his sister Jill.
Jill. Now I don't remember Jill from school, but social media wise, I do, and they we don't interact as much on social media as we used to because they used to get into the fray with me where I used to scuffle a lot, and since the injury I can't do that. So like mentally that's my sparring. I'll go on there like I'm gonna, and my grandmother had Alzheimer's, and I think if I keep my brain sharp then maybe I can hold on longer than I would otherwise. So I like to get into a thing, and I pretty much on Facebook, like I'm giving away some secrets, but I set traps. If I'm reading if I'm reading about something for a while and I know it front to back, then I'll make my post and then wait for the mice to the fly to come to the spider, and then here we go. And
Well, you spent a whole day doing pro-Trump things?
No,
It was a day.
But those weren't even, and that wasn't the point to them either. Was they were pro-Trump, but they were all 100% fabricated satire.
Yeah.
And it was amazing to me to watch the people believe it. Just they were inclined to believe it anyway. But if you read the articles, they were the most fantabulous, way off, like no way. Like, one of them was Hillary Clinton demands that she becomes president if Trump is impeached.
Yeah, I saw that.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, people were like mad about it. I'm like,
that was total bullshit.
And I when I posted it, I wrote, people need to read the articles. Like, read the article. Every one of them said, read the article. No one read the article on any of them. It's like, really, this is the drive-by, like, information you're getting? People, I think, when they go on social media, they think they're reading, and that's not reading. Like, I notice a difference in my brain when my favorite author is John Irving. And there has not been a John Irving book, and I probably read 20 of them that I didn't love. That I wasn't absolutely like. It's like right in my wheelhouse. There's always someone that's German speaking in there. There's always wrestling. There's always, and then the writing thing. Like I like how he talks about his method of writing, and I don't know how. Now you have a book that you wrote. Um,
That one's out of print. I
Is
still
that
have one.
now?
One's on available on Amazon.
This is a novel, right? So it's fiction.
Right.
So then now his thing is that he pretty much has the ending that he wants, and then he writes the entire book from the ending. Like he has like how the thing played out, and then he writes the whole backstory from there. So like, and he talks about that in the novels that he writes, because there's always a writer
Right.
in them. Um, but if I am in a book and I'm reading a book, my brain works better. My brain works better in a conversation. My brain works better at work. It's like I'm flexing a muscle or I'm using a muscle that it's not usually used. Uh, that and I do like the Rosetta Stone thing for language for German. And I've got a couple apps on my phone and stuff like that. And I will find a movie in German and watch a German movie just so I can just be hearing it
Right.
like more. I'm good
You get a
enough.
lot more fluent that way.
Right. I'm better at listening to German than I am to speaking it. The problem is a lot of the computer stuff. It's a lot of reading it and seeing it and hearing it, but it's not as much speaking it back.
Right.
Uh,
And recognition is generally easier than generation.
oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, on tests.
How
True,
they-
false,
Right.
multiple choice, you recognize the answer.
Okay. Now I never
If you
took
write an
language.
essay, you have to generate an answer.
Right. Okay. Right. The essay was always bad for me in school. Uh, but I never took a language, and I don't know if they do that in school. But do they have you orally say speak the language to
Yes.
pass the test? Okay.
Well, when I graduated from high school in 1963,
There you go. Yeah.
and I had
Anyways.
4 years of Spanish.
What high school?
Decatur, Eisenhower,
Okay.
Decatur. And we had to speak it.
Right. I wish they made it more of a. I always feel inferior as an American. Ooh, Trump supporters be upset with that. Because other countries,
Everybody is bilingual
yes,
but us.
right. Which, and I make jokes. That's the problem with social media. Like, I'm always looking for a laugh. I'm really always looking for a laugh. So, like, I had a guy get on a post the other day and call me a punto, and another one said it was a chooch.
Puto.
Puto, yeah, pussy. And I'm like, you guys need to start speaking American. And I think somebody that doesn't know me that well probably saw that, like, oh, this guy's a racist or something like that. But like, I'm making fun of racists. It's satire. But as far as the reading goes, like, people, like, if you would just take the time to read, I think that you would like enjoy yourself with the reading. First off, second off, like, it allows you to. I love tech. I was just at Best Buy this morning getting a auto start installed in my car that my sons had bought me, and I was stuck there for an hour and 40 minutes, and I found everything that I like. I know my next 7 purchases now. They may not be those exact items, but the tech is wonderful to have like a beautiful TV and watch a movie and stuff like that. But the book is so awesome because you can put your own thing to it. You can put your own faces to the characters and all that stuff. And what's really cool about it is read the book, then watch a movie, and then bitch about the casting director and all that stuff because you're like, no way, that could be the guy.
The first time a Peanuts Christmas came out on TV,
Okay, right.
and I'd been reading Peanuts forever. My 6th grade teacher's husband was a friend of Charles Schultz.
Sure.
So, Peanuts. And none of the voices were the right voices. The characters all looked alike because it was a cartoon. But the voices were really wrong.
Yeah, I thought you were going there. I'm like, wait a minute, wasn't that a comic strip? But sort of, how could they
it's
be wrong?
still in the Tribune. I read it every morning.
Yeah, right. Even now, who took that over?
When he died, they started recycling them.
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, right. Why
Well,
didn't-
somebody's making money on it.
Yeah, right. That's why. So I like I have a black lab and his name is Ketchum because there was a character in a John Irving book named Ketchum, and he was a black-haired, super loyal friend, and this is a black lab. I'm like, that makes sense, and everything else. But like, I have a visual picture in my brain of the way that that guy looks, the way he's built, the
Oh,
way
absolutely.
everything from the description in the thing. And then when you get stories like the guy's son was a wrestler and stuff like this, you start to think about the way that that guy probably moves because
Mm-hmm.
he's a wrestler and stuff like this. So when they cast a movie and it's it's the one that they really ruined was a prayer for Owen Meany, and they made it into they changed it, but it was loosely based on it, and
Loosely, always.
yeah, but so loosely that like it made no sense. In A Prayer for Owen Meany, he was a wrestler and a really good one because he was a
Mm-hmm.
small statured man, and just as mean as can be and everything else. And in the movie, I can't remember what the name of the movie was. It wasn't A Prayer for Owen Meany. It was something else, but it was it was a guy with severe dwarfism that was like
Yeah,
not like
yeah.
it was not right at all. And I'm like, how could you do this? How could you make it all not right? Like this doesn't make it. You and then
I read the book 30 some years ago, I'm
right,
sure,
but
but
then they took all of the wrestling out of it. Like the whole, like I'm like, oh my god, if that was the thing you took out of it, then I'm wasting my time watching the
oh,
movie.
absolutely.
But
Every time I open a book, a novel, and I start to read, within 2 pages, I quit reading. I'm just seeing a movie as
yeah,
things
yes, right in my
happen.
brain, right. And I mean, if I'm yeah, I'm totally visualizing everything that's going on. And then for me, I'm even after I set the book down, I'm still thinking about what I read
Right.
and stuff like that. So it seems to
Yeah,
be
why didn't they do this? How could they be
right.
so stupid not to have seen that?
Why people don't want to be touched in that way? They'd rather just be lazy and hit the remote, turn the TV on, whatever like that. And then if you're not going to read a
Oh,
book,
that's totally passive.
right? But if you're not going to read a book and you're going to watch Fox News or CNN all day long, then I don't know. You need to still like go look for articles and read deeper into it. That's the reason for the podcast. So
You need more points of view.
more points of view, and you need everything to be more in depth. Anybody can spin anything by giving you 30 seconds of something, and then if you look into it further, oh, but there's
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
and this. Like you'll get a more rounded. The problem is that I know people that are conservatives. There's so many categories now. Like Trump has made it into like the whole gender thing, where there's 75 different pronouns for. Like it makes no sense to me, but so I don't. Anyone who's a super Trump supporter is not a conservative. So like because he's not conservative in any way, shape, or form. And then if
Regressive in many ways, but
right,
not conservative.
right. But I mean, he's running a $1.2 trillion deficit
Oh, yeah.
in a great economy. So like, you wonder what you're doing.
And
So
pre-civil rights,
yeah, right.
not
Well,
conservative.
and that's the other one too. Like people don't, history-wise, I get people that on social media will say stuff like, "Well, Lincoln was a Republican." That means absolutely nothing because at that time, that was the
That was
progressive.
150 years ago.
That was the progressive party, though. Those were
Yeah.
the progressives. The Democrats were the conservatives.
Teddy Roosevelt was a Republican.
Right.
And very progressive.
Right. So you've got it all backwards, and I almost wish people would just stay with. I don't even know how you do like the polar. I consider myself a progressive. Like all I want is progress. So if I see a solution, I don't care who has it. I want that solution for the problem. Let's just move forward from this. We obviously have problems. Most of them stem from greed, in my experience, because
And
people.
how much is enough? If you have $1 billion, what the hell do you do with it?
I-
How could I spend $1 billion on
I
myself?
think people in the middle class fancy themselves to be that guy someday, so they don't want him harmed in some way. So like I don't know, like I think there's people out there that are happy that Jeff Bezos is worth $145 billion, and to me, it's immoral. There's obscene. There's something terribly wrong about that because
And he's not paying any taxes.
and he's not paying any taxes, and he's utilizing everything from that taxes pay for. So his entire workforce can read, write, and do arithmetic because of public schools.
Right.
But he's paying for nothing to public schools.
Right.
He's got tens of thousands of trucks on the road putting potholes in the road, but he's paying nothing into the roads. He has factories that if, bands of marauders came along, police forces would be needed. He pays nothing into the police force. So, like, as a whole, he's got billions of dollars to be secured. The military's there to secure the country, and he pays nothing into the military. But people think that it's, I don't know, like, go America, we've got more billionaires. I don't understand.
I don't get that.
I don't get it. And then,
I like the model J.K. Rowling's presents, where she made billions on Harry Potter.
Oh, yeah. And she
gave it all away.
She took herself off the billionaire list, right?
Yeah.
Right. Which, that's saying a big thing, because if she had the other mindset, she could be a multi-billionaire.
Oh, absolutely.
Problem. And she did do your question, how much is enough? She decided.
Exactly.
800 million is enough. I don't need to be over whatever she is. I don't need to be over that. I need to just start giving it away.
And the Gateses are doing the same thing.
Yeah,
I don't know how much they're keeping, but they're sure giving a lot away.
They are, but and I think the Gateses did that thing where they signed some kind of a pact with a bunch of other billionaires to give away a certain portion of their wealth when they die. Like, they won't even keep it to begin with. Now, if everybody would fall in line with that, then I could get on board with there not being the estate tax and stuff like that. But the problem is, most of these people don't want anything to do with that pact. It's only the people that have so much money they know they'll never be hurting for it. But when I see, and people don't understand, so we've got a shortage of teachers, is where I'm going with all this.
Yeah.
There's a shortage of...
And Hillcrest is going on strike pretty soon.
Are they? Yeah. Well, I don't mean that. I mean,
they've been working without a contract
overall,
for a year. Yeah,
but we have a shortage of good teachers, because when I see adults that don't know shit, it drives me nuts. Like, and then the problem...
There are a lot of them. There are a lot of us.
The problem that I see with it, too, is it seems to be the people who don't know shit, they're the loudest talkers. They're the ones that want to...
The smug ignorance.
Yeah, that and...
I don't know anything.
They don't know... Right? Those are my favorites. The ones that, like, are... they're almost upset with smart people.
Yeah.
Right? They don't like smart people. And then the other one that drives me nuts is the people that collate intelligence and money. And I'm like, no, that's got nothing to do with it. Like, I mean...
A lot of money is inherited.
Oh, inherited. And then there's some that's just dumb luck.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there was a documentary on Netflix years ago that had they followed all these lottery winners. And they were the most goofball-y people ever. The one guy had won at that point. This has got to be like 6-7 years ago, like when Netflix was new. And the guy won like 68. He won like the biggest lottery that ever was at the time. Now it's obscenely way over that. But he won like $70 million.
That's still obscene.
It's completely obscene. People don't understand or do math. That's like a ludicrous amount of money. He was like flying around in helicopters. He had a briefcase with his lunch in it. He had like he was buying strip malls and all this. I'm like, not like he was gonna go broke no matter how much money he had. But he knew nothing. He was not. I'm positive.
And didn't have any foresight.
No, and he has everything monetarily at his fingertips and wasn't interested in learning anything either. And I don't really play the lottery, but if somehow I ran into $100 million, I would spend I would first off give a lot of money away.
Yeah.
Secondly,
I have a whole lot of friends who need money.
Right, but I would spend a lot of time learning things. I would hire people that knew, like I would find someone that was a astrophysicist and be like, all right, listen, all I want is 6 months of your time and I want to learn, like, can you give me a basic knowledge of astrophysicist? Just give me this. And, I would just have class with them. I would definitely immerse myself into German-speaking people so I could, like, fluently speak German. I'm a dude in a wheelchair, so there's things I can't do. But, like, if I looked at my sons, I told them, I go, listen, if you ever ran into some fabulous amount of money, like, learn how to shoot a bow, learn how to sculpt, learn how to oil paint, learn how to do. There's all kinds of things that you can do and achieve, and run a marathon, climb a mountain. Like, when you're done with life, what do you really have? You have the things you accomplished, the things you learned, And then all the things that you learn are things that you can give to somebody else. Like it's a commodity. The things that I learned, I was able to give to my sons. So about 3 weeks before I broke my neck, I was sitting in a bar with a buddy of mine, another contractor, and I was like, you know what sucks? And he goes, what? I go, there's nothing that I can't build. Like if someone said, hey, can you build this turret with a circular, peaked roof on it and all this other, and I'm like, yeah, I could build that. I could build anything. Like I've been doing this. I was probably 20, I was 29, or I was 30 at the time. And I had been building since I was 18 years old. But like I'd mastered it. Like there's nothing that I couldn't do. And I'm like, I used to like to be challenged to do things. I remember getting nervous when I first started out. Like I had a lady gave me a room edition, and I was like, ooh, haven't done one of those yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was only 23, but I was like, I've done them, but not on my own. And I'm going to do the foundation, everything. I know what I'm going to do, but I'm still a little bit nervous. So at 30, there was no nervousness about it. There was nothing anyone could hand me that wasn't like that. Now 3 weeks later, I broke my neck and I was challenged in every single aspect of my life. But and I didn't want that. That was not what I was saying. But
I wish you'd taken on Illinois roads.
Yeah, right. So I think that when they have animals in the zoo, they can't just make a nice enclosure and then feed the animals. You have to give the animals things to. You got to give the lion like a thing with a treat inside of it. And he has to figure out how to get the treat on. You got to stimulate your brain.
Right.
So these people that win the lottery, they just do stupid shit. They buy, $250,000 cars, stupid houses, and vacations, and all this. Now, I'm not saying you can't do some of that, but you need to do some stuff where you can learn some stuff. And that's another reason I like to do the podcast, because I get to have conversations with people about things that I don't know anything about. So it's my cheap way of getting my tutoring lesson for the couple of hours. So yeah, right. So I mean, that's what my sons, which I told them you need to do. You would need to find somebody who, use your brain and think of new stuff to figure out.
Well, that's something I keep trying to do.
Right.
One of the wonderful things about being retired is I can do whatever I want. And I do, pretty much. In Illinois, if you're over 65, you can pay a registration fee at any community college in the state, and your classes are free.
Get out.
So,
I didn't know that. Wait a minute. So you can go to any community college.
Well, within your district.
And then it's free. Now, why isn't it that way for a 19-year-old kid?
Because they want more diversity of age. I don't know why that's the way it is.
Does that mean that?
But senior
sense
citizens are looked on as some kind of feeble-minded people, and we need to help them. And I take advantage of that shit all the time.
Good.
Do I get a senior discount? Oh, yes, good.
Yeah, right.
So I have way too much education. I was watching one of your podcasts yesterday or the day before about how much college, and do people need college?
Yes.
So I was always going to go to college.
Right.
That was it.
Sure.
So I got my bachelor's in 4 years. And then I had a graduate assistantship at Ohio University, and I never wrote a thesis.
Okay.
Because then I got a job at Lincoln Way, and I went part-time, so I had however many hours, 60 hours, 30 hours, whatever it takes, except for the thesis at Ohio U.
Right.
And I ended up at Governor's State taking the full amount of hours and the thesis and got my master's.
Right.
And then teachers, in order to advance on the salary schedule, keep taking classes.
Okay.
So I have my master's plus 45.
Oh, good golly. Yeah.
And then I retired. And I retired June 4th. And by June 30th, I was at Goddard College in Plainfield, Vermont, working on an MFA, a Master of Fine Arts, although my chosen son and daughter gave me a plaque when I graduated. It says William D. Moser, MFA, motherfucking articulate. Anyway.
Nice.
Yeah, so I have an MFA in creative writing. And when I turned 65, I started taking classes at Prairie State.
Sure.
So I have 41 hours.
Right.
Which is close to being an associate's degree, I suspect.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not getting an associate's degree. Don't
Now,
want
has
one,
there been
but
time in your life where you just like, I don't know, kind of got lazy and took time off and didn't do much of any kind of like thing like that? And if so, did you notice a difference in your brain, the way that you function in your daily life when you were and when you weren't?
okay, good question. There are semesters I don't take classes because there's nothing I want to take,
Sure.
or
Makes
there's
sense.
nothing offered. So I have mostly art classes at Prairie State and a couple of
I'm
creative.
gonna write that. I'm gonna, so, when I get old and forget stuff,
And
I'm gonna
maybe
take some classes because
maybe
they're
disabled people
free.
too. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Check that out.
Well, so the disabled thing, I know that through a vocational program through the state, like I could be a professional student if I
Yeah,
just wanted
yeah.
to do that. I could absolutely. My problem is life is real for me, and my situation, excuse me, is that I paid into workman's comp for my entire company life, and then 2 months before I broke my neck, my ex-wife would have liked some responsibility with the business, and I gave her that responsibility. She signed me personally out of workman's comp, so I had no workman's comp the day I broke my neck. So when I thought I was going to get $4 million, that didn't happen. In fact, I was uninsured, so bills, all that stuff. When I got out of the hospital and could barely dress myself because the way that the healthcare system is in this country, you're in a once you get into the rehab center, you are in a hurry to get out of the rehab center. Like that, they pretty much give you a couple weeks, and then the insurance people are there saying, "Hey, you got
Yeah,
to get them out. You
yeah,
got to get
that's
them out.
it.
You got to get them out."
Yeah.
And I had the Rehab Institute of Chicago is supposed to be the best hospital in the country or in the world. So I had interns from Australia, the Poland, the Ukraine, all kinds of places. There were these people that were bilingual. Australia, they just spoke with an accent. But so, anyways, but they would explain to me how it was in their country, and you'd be amazed that even some of these like Poland and like poorer countries than we. The one woman's like, "Oh no, you'd be in the rehab hospital for a year and a half." I was 4 months, and they could not wait. And I mean, I was like,
How did you survive
deaf.
financially?
Oh, through the state, pretty much. Like you had to. So everything's a joke too. Like the healthcare system is so screwed up from front to back. I had $1.2 million in hospital bills when I left. When that all gets negotiated, it's a completely different
Oh
animal. You're
yeah,
talking about like $400,000 or $500,000 with like
still a hell of a lot.
it's a ton of money. Some stuff we had to pay by liquidation, and in other ways we had to like pretty much file for aid, sort of a thing. So I mean, there was nothing I could do. I'm a quadriplegic. I was self-employed, so I had no job at the time when I came out of there, which I guess sort of helps me because I don't make enough. I qualify for those things. And then they pay off the bills, and then then you're there to make money after that, which I had to do because I didn't have anything coming. So it was a situation where I was right away having to figure out how to take a shower, get dressed, and then find out what job I'm going to have. And then I went into the vocational programs, and they said, we'll pay for whatever college you want. And honestly, I was thinking at that time, like, I'm only 30. I think I'd like to get a law degree. I knew two guys that were in wheelchairs. They were quadriplegic. They were lawyers, and they made a fine living as a lawyer. And I'm thinking I could do that. I'm intelligent enough to get that degree, but do I have the time when I have my sons were a year and a half old? I had twins, and then my daughter was 3. I didn't have time. I got to get out and make money right now. My ex-wife didn't work, and the funny thing was I'm like, I said something to her while I was in the rehab hospital. You may have to get a job for a little bit. She's like, I'm not getting a job, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Holy shit.
Then I better get myself back to work. Yeah, she was dead set against having a job. She never had a job when she was married to me anyway. But my situation was dire. I'm going to do some podcasts on the wheelchair stuff because people have misconceptions. I was 195 pounds, 6 feet tall. I could bench press 300 pounds. And I went into a medically induced coma for 21 days. I woke up 54 pounds lighter, and I couldn't pick up my own arms. Like that's how much atrophy.
Atrophy, yeah.
It just melts off of you. So when you're just laying on the
And
couch,
it's always the muscles, never the fat.
right? I had a guy that was in the bed next to me. He was a like 300-pound fat guy, and I asked, "How is he still this size?" And I'm a skeleton. I look like I just got out of Auschwitz. And they're like, "It's just you were completely lean. Like I was ripped, and it was all just gone." I mean, I looked so unbelievably skinny. The nurse lifted up my arm to like, sponge bath kind of situation, and I had like a, what in the world? And my ex-wife was in there. She goes, "Yep, that's your arm." And I'm like, whoo. And I mean, I have worked real hard. I'm back to about like 185 pounds. I mean, I got some muscle. I mean, I'm in the gym all the time now. But it was a long road. I mean, it was when I first got home, I see pictures of me and I'm like, whoo, look how skinny and frail and everything you were. But I was dead set, I got to get back to work. So I took, it was like it's only like a quarter's worth of, for the real estate broker's license, the sales license. It's just night school for, a couple months, and you got that. But then I went to Harper College and I took what's almost, I think it's a semester, and it's a couple classes for my like managing broker's license. So I did that also. And while I was doing that, the state would pay for, and Joliet Junior College required me to take other classes along with it or something like that. So I took I took an English course, I took a math class, algebra class, and then I took a psych class, and then what else did I take? I took a whole bunch of classes. I was a straight A student in college. So like I should have been
Once you grew up?
Yes, because it was important to me then.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
this is what I'm doing. And I think I had the extra added incentive that like I'm not going to be able to do this with my body anymore.
A little desperation.
Yes, I better use my brain. I better figure this shit out. But when I was in the hospital, I had the quad rugby people come to me. And they're like, we heard you were an athlete and, whatnot. We've got this sport. And they showed me videos of the sport and everything else. I'm like, that's great. He goes, you could come out. You could do this. And I'm like, I could. But I've got kids. So now it's going to be their time to do the sports. And I'm not going to, I couldn't imagine my life.
Well, you have a responsibility.
Yes, I got kids. If I was single, okay, sure. But, no. So, like, my whole thing was geared right towards how can I make as much money as possible, as fast as possible, and real estate was the way to do it, in front of a computer. Now, I noticed that I felt like my teachers were better in college. And JJC is probably not the greatest college to go to, but I felt like my teachers were far better teachers than I had when I was in high school and junior. I had some pretty good ones in junior high, but I had some really, we were talking before the podcast, I had some poor teachers in high school. Like I was like, man, this guy's terrible. Like I don't understand anything. And when I say I don't understand, they don't want to hear it. And I know I'm a pain in the ass. Like I know I'm not like the best guy in the school here, but like I'm still trying to figure out what's going on. And you're like,
well,
shut up, knock it off.
You should have been in my class.
Right. I probably would have gone further.
The last class I taught, the last year I taught, the 7th period class, was the all boys junior felons remedial English.
Well, see, now I was not.
And that was the best class because it's all boys and I didn't have to watch my language too much.
Right.
Although I didn't drop F-bombs and I tried not to say shit very often. But I could say, enough of this.
Right.
And when it's just boys, it's easier.
Oh, yeah, there's less distraction for the boys.
Oh, yeah.
Right, sure.
And this is the way it is, and this is what we're doing, so shut up and do it.
Right. Did you have success with those boys, too? I mean,
yeah.
Good.
The last final, the last class I had in my teaching career was these guys. We took the final, and at the end of the final, I said, okay, everybody get together. And I got up on the desk with my camera, said, I'm going to take a picture. Everybody flip me the bird.
Right. Yeah.
And they did. I have that picture somewhere.
And
a couple years ago, I saw one of these kids, and I said his name, and he said, Mr. Moser, give me a hug. Because I really loved my students.
Yeah, right. I mean, and hopefully that's a situation where you could turn somebody around too.
Well, I don't know that I turned anyone around, but I didn't make it a negative experience.
Sure. Well, I see people all the time that say things like, I'm no good at math, and stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't know if that's true. I think that you felt that way, you told yourself that, and then you decided that you weren't going to be good at math. As a carpenter, like my math skills are out of this world. I can figure pretty
You
complicated
have to be
math.
really good at
I,
math.
I mean, definitely hanging from a rafter somewhere, figuring out something, and my sons are in AP calculus, and I can out basic math them all the time. They're like, wow, like, and it really just comes from carpentry.
Practical applications that make sense and have a necessity.
Yes, and it bled into realizing that I was good like that. Like I could add and multiply huge numbers together without pen and paper, without a calculator. I started to do math all the time, another muscle in the brain, just flexing it. I would figure my mileage every time I got gas. Like I would look at reset my trip normally, and then fill the tank and be like, all right, 22.4 gallons, and then do the all the math
Right.
on that, and then like constantly do math. Now I wonder now. I just bought a Subaru, and it does it all for me
Oh,
all the
yeah.
time.
Yeah, my car does.
Right. So now I don't do that math anymore in my head because it's right there on my dash constantly. And then
You can check to see if it's accurate.
right, everyone's got a supercomputer in their pocket. I I feel like kids today are smarter than they were. They have more knowledge because they have more things that they can get knowledge from than in my day. Like, I mean, if you want to look something up, we had to get the Encyclopedia Britannica out and look it up. Now it's
Wikipedia.
Google, Google, Google. Right,
Yeah.
right. And my sons and I have these like fantastic conversations about like I mean and they're in AP Physics also. So like around our house, that's the big thing. Like when you came in, I was watching Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah, I saw that.
Like astrophysicists and all that, like all that stuff is super cool because I love tech stuff. Oh my gosh, I do anything that is. I got the Echo Dot thing in the house, and like when I was at Best Buy today, I'm like, hey, what am I missing? I go, I've got this, I've got this, I got a podcast, I got these cameras, I got all this other stuff, I got like killer internet, and like the kid was like, I don't, he didn't really know, but I'm like around the store for an hour, and I think right now the only thing I'm missing is literally having cameras everywhere. Like that's totally a feasible thing. You can buy a 6-pack of cameras and mount them everywhere around your house, and then on your phone,
Right.
look
Watch.
watch everything wherever you're at, which I thought was neat. And I'm not even a security guy. Like I had a place in Manhattan, out in the country, 6 acres. If I was going to kill somebody, that's where to kill them because there's no one
and
around.
bury him. Nobody'd know.
No. But I never even locked the doors there. Now I lock my doors here because I have a neighbor who, I'm sure doesn't watch the podcast. I hope not. He might know who I'm talking about if I do. I was probably living here a month, pulled down the street, and he's waving me down, right? And I'm like, all right. So I roll the window down, and he's got his hand on his ear, and he's talking to me about the FBI's in the area, and they're looking for a guy and everything else. And I'm like, all right. And he's like, I called my supervisor, and I'm looking at this guy, and there's no fucking way he's in the FBI. And at some point in the conversation, he put his hand down and looked the other way, and he had nothing.
Nothing in his ear, yeah.
I'm like, holy
Little bits of
shit.
schizophrenia.
Right. So now I lock the door because I don't want to find this guy naked in my house. But
Or even clothed.
right, I don't want to find him anyway. But so the tech stuff is awesome, but I wonder if they're looking at the right stuff because now I only have experience with my sons. I don't pay attention to what their kids are doing, but my guys are like looking at wrestling videos. They're kind of using it for and I'm sure they're doing chat stuff and porn and everything else.
Yeah.
Like they're not supposed
Because
to. They're 18.
They're still in adolescence. Yeah.
Right. But so I think I said it on the other podcast, I think there's a certain place we're going to get to where physical schools might not be a necessity.
And all kinds of socialization just goes right down the shitter.
That's for sure. Absolutely. I think you would
People
need
won't
to.
be able to get along with each other.
Now, okay, how do you feel about homeschooling then? Because I have a couple of families that I know. Kids are off the charts smart.
Homeschooling, I'm really ambivalent about. For a long time, the only people who homeschooled were the ones who didn't want their kids exposed to the evils of the world.
Yeah, they're
And
super religious and
yeah, and they might meet somebody whose savior wasn't Jesus Christ
yes,
and
right,
all that.
right.
And I consider myself a reasonably religious person, and I'm very active in my church. But that kind of shit's off the wall. And we're Episcopalians, so we use all the words.
Right. Well, it is off the wall because, like, I did a 4-year Bible study where it was like homework and scripture.
Yeah.
And I really did it because I want to consider myself an educated person. So I want to know what's in that book. And then when somebody, what I found really interesting was after 4 years of studying scripture and reading that book front to back, and really, it's a biblical scholar class. So like I learned about the culture. So like things like he took his shoes off
It's
before he entered.
history.
Right.
It's culture.
Right. But he took
And
his
the
shoes
whole
off
thing
before he entered
is
the tent.
poetry.
Now I know
And
why.
I believe it's not literal. And
Oh.
you're going to get shit about that.
No. Right. Well, I don't believe it's real. I think it's a thing that they wrote, and there's a lot of great philosophy in there, but I don't believe there's an invisible man in the sky that cares. And I don't, because I've seen the terrible things that go on in the world. And if there's a little girl who's chained to a bed in somebody's shed and this old man's raping her on the regular.
And they call it the IC. What, ICE? Yeah.
Right, but I'm just saying that this goes on, and she's been praying to God for, years and years and years. And then there's also a football player who's like, they can look like,
Yeah.
that doesn't make any sense.
God doesn't give a shit
God-
about
right.
football as far as I'm concerned.
Right. But he doesn't seem to give a shit about anything because millions of people get killed and starved to death, and all this other stuff happens, and no hand ever comes down and saves the situation. So I look at it like it's a terrific bunch of philosophy to have. I don't believe in the deity part of it. And I don't know if I
I
have to.
do, but
Right, that's
we can agree to
yes,
disagree.
yeah, and I mean, I'm
and I hope you don't punch me because you're a much better fighter, obviously, than I am.
It has nothing to, for me, it has nothing, wouldn't like any, or, I would begrudge anybody there believes however they want to. It doesn't hurt me. So it's all fine. And I even would I'd love to get somebody who was super Christian, like really knowledgeable. My problem is most people that are super vocal are not that knowledgeable. They want to have an argument about things, and they know just enough to be dangerous, but they don't.
A little knowledge is a dangerous thing.
Yeah.
You ought to talk to my priest.
Yeah, I should get a priest on. I wanted to go
He's
all of them. I want to get a Buddhist
Father
on.
Jeremy, Episcopalian,
Okay.
gay, has a wonderful husband.
See, now there are Christian heads exploding just from what you just, that
Good.
sentence. Right. I agree.
Yeah.
But I mean,
We had a new couple in church Sunday. 2 guys, Frank and Scott, with their daughter, Josephine.
that's one of the anomalies.
I thought
that
it was
don't-
wonderful.
Yes, it is wonderful. I don't
I
understand.
showed them around. Here's the children's chapel. It's right in the church. She can play, and nobody's going to be bothered. And you can listen and kind of keep an eye on her at the same time.
No, right.
And Father Jeremy preaches sermons that I'll be sitting there, and there are tears running down my face. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what happened?
Right. No,
And I rate his
hook me up with him. I'll
Yeah.
definitely talk to him and get him on and
I
talk.
will.
Yeah.
I rate his sermons frequently on a scale of 1 to 5 boots on Kick-Ass.
There you go.
And I tell him, Father, you got 5 boots on Kick-Ass
Now,
today.
there was a guy that
He laughs. He's a great
There was
guy.
a great speaker that gave the lectures for this class I took, and his name is Bill Moore. He's a fabulously successful man. He owns Packmore Foods, and or Packmore Food Packing, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But he was a gifted speaker. Oh my gosh! Like, I mean, you really got it, and I enjoyed the people there. I'm not atheist. I'm an agnostic. I'm just someone who I haven't seen any empirical evidence that says that this exists. So
It's called faith, dude.
I know. That's exactly believing in something that doesn't exist. But, then if you say that, then I can have faith in Santa Claus if I want to. I'll never see him, but I can have faith like that. To me, it just maybe at this point in my life, it just suspends critical thinking skills for too long of a period for me. I can't. Do it.
After our son died,
Yes, well, there's no right, and then a lot of people expect me because of the injury to be more, but I was actually less. I was a little more like, "Hey, man, what's up with this paralyzed shit?"
yeah, well,
Same, right?
I never stopped believing, but I sure did a lot of yelling at God.
Yeah, right. I couldn't.
You
I
know,
can only imagine.
but one of the things the church keeps saying is you find the Christ in other people, and I think you need to find the Christ in yourself. But when my son died, so many people rallied around us. So many people brought food. I don't think we went to the grocery store for a month. So many people held our hands and wept with us, and that happened not just for the first month, but time after time after time.
Sure.
I don't know if you remember Tim Riley, who taught English at Lincoln Way.
Mr. Riley. No, I don't
He
know.
also was a wrestling coach, as I recall. Wrestling, football. I can't remember. Anyway, I would come in. I remember one day I got this phone call from the ambulance service. They were sending me to collections. Well, I'd never received a bill.
Sure.
And the insurance would have taken care of it anyway. And I hung up on them and turned around, and he was standing there. I ruined more of his shirts crying before school started.
Yeah.
They were nicely ironed, and
Sure.
and he went to class looking wrinkled day after day
No.
after day.
My buddy Hank, he lost his son to the opioid epidemic. He overdosed, and there is probably not a week that goes by, And I mean, I've called him and texted him and stuff like that just to say I'm there, man, anytime.
Yeah.
But there's not a week that goes by that I don't think about this guy and I didn't really know that son. The other son I had met through construction work a little bit, but I didn't know the Hank Jr. that had passed, and him and his wife. Like there's not a week that goes by that I don't think about him for sure. And I mean, if there's anything that I could do for him or anything like that, I'm there for sure. I don't know if I find that to be a religious thing for me though. Like I just find it to be like I care about him. I don't find it to be like I don't see Christ in that as far as like you said, find this Christ in yourself or something like that. I don't find. I found that going.
It's part of empathy, if nothing else.
Yes,
and
right,
I think empathy is a huge part of religion.
I took it as see now why are maybe my
viewpoints are not necessarily your viewpoints.
No, but I don't know. Maybe my experiences with some very religious people they're lacking hugely in empathy. Like but you are at a different kind of church because like the Catholic church that I grew up in, and then they went to we switched to like Parkview, which is a I don't know, more modern
mall church.
Yeah, right. Well, I don't know what it is really. It's like they're playing rock and roll music and all that nonsense, but it is nonsense. Listen, I love music, and I've had like a bunch of artists on here and stuff like that. Rock and roll music is about sex, drugs, and rock and roll. It is about fucking and all that other stuff, and they're taking that same beat and putting it behind "We Love G," and it makes no goddamn sense. I'm sorry. I'm like,
Don't be sorry. I quite agree.
It just doesn't make any sense to me at all. You're almost like you might as well just put like the sexy leg lamp and put Jesus. Like it makes no sense. So, so maybe my experience is with the wrong Christians as far as that goes, because I see so many Christians that don't have tolerance for homosexuals. They don't have tolerance for people that are transgender. They don't have, no, I don't understand any of that. You know what I mean? Like you're supposed to be the tolerance people.
My idea of God is love. That's all you need to know.
Right. But my experience with the Catholic religion is some of the most Catholic people in the world want to punch the guy in the head constantly to get the point. Like makes it just, yeah.
And screw the altar boys.
Well, yeah, that too. Holy cow! Like that. If that doesn't turn you off, that you've got an entire religion of pedophilia,
Oh yeah.
like
Because they're
run
so damn repressed. That piston You keep pushing, it's going to explode somewhere.
Right. I know. It's so
Or you squeeze that balloon, it's going to pop.
And my walk has been different as far as when I was going to that class, I wanted to believe. I really did. I wanted to be involved in that, and I wanted to believe in it. And then I just got away from it, and I just haven't gone back. Maybe at some point in my life, I'll revisit that situation and think about it again. But let's get back to the teacher thing. And then now you've retired, and I've noticed I'm terrible on social media. I am kind of a drive-by social media guy. I'll post stuff, wait for the fight to ensue, and then I come back to it, get some laughs, add my parts and stuff like that, and then I leave. I am really bad at the part that I guess is really addictive for everyone else is the news feed. So people, I guess, get on their phone and just will sit forever.
I don't understand that either.
No, I have a language thing, and I'll just get on there and do German instead of like a game. But
yeah, my wife is getting deafer and deafer, and her hearing aids are not nearly as effective as we'd like. There's an American Sign Language website that I get on.
Now, I thought they were making big strides as far as the hearing aid stuff went. I thought the technology was coming along pretty good with that. Like
Well, if you have $10,000 a year.
Is that, oh, wow. I did not know. Yeah.
Oh, and it's Bluetooth. What they do is they've added all this extra shit, so they cost a whole lot more, but all they do is amplify. Or they'll tune you into the television. You can be in the kitchen and hear the television. Well, she doesn't want to hear the goddamn television.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And I stopped watching the news because she hates Trump so much, she swears so loud that I can't hear the news. I have to keep backing it up. What did he say? What did he say about that?
Yeah, really hate that guy.
Yeah, well, I'm not a fan, but at this point I've decided my blood pressure is down because I just ignore it all.
Yeah, I don't spend much time on it.
And this whole idea of as soon as you're elected, you start campaigning for the next election drives me out of my mind.
Well,
in Europe, they've got, 30 or 45 days?
Yeah, I didn't like it before when they would go, like you had a 4-year term and then 2 years in you started campaigning.
Now it's 4 years in.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean...
The day he was inaugurated, he filed for re-election.
He filed for re-election, and I would say 3 weeks later he was at one of those Nuremberg rallies where he's got the people all frothing at the mouth and lock her up. And I mean, it honestly, if you look
They're still yelling, lock her up. What the hell is wrong? She hasn't been in the public eye for a long time now.
Right.
How is she still
Besides that, she's been through everything, and she showed up to testify and everything else too. But my thing with the Trump stuff is it is the most ironic presidency that ever was. They said lock her up, but a lot of his cronies are all locked up. If he wasn't president,
and Betsy DeVos ought to be.
Right. Oh, that's a...
Speaking of education.
Yes, she's
Secretary
awful.
of Education.
Yeah, right.
Secretary of Ignorance.
She's never been in a public school in her life. Like, she's never spent any time. Her ideas, they're off the... If someone would have written down...
It has to do with how much money can she make or her company make.
Yes.
Forget about anyone else.
Right. Well, when they came out with the defund the Special Olympics, that was the red line that people were like, wait a minute. Are you out of your mind? You can't defund. They were going to take $80 million away from these mentally retarded children to get the one thing that they got to look forward to.
Right.
Hey, knucklehead, come here. This is the reason that you're not in here usually. I'm trying to
lie down, dude.
With the whole dog thing. Yeah, chill, will you? So yeah, no, DeVos, but it was like he put people in agencies
where they already had special interests and could line their own fucking pockets.
They could do that, and then they also had an objective to ruin that thing.
Exactly.
They put a guy in charge of the EPA who was a climate denier. They put this woman who's never been in a public school in her life in charge of public schools. I
don't think there should be an education secretary to start out with.
No.
Education's local, not national.
Right. But yeah, she's been a nightmare the whole way through as far as that goes. I mean, the defunding the Special Olympics. I was like, now someone's got to get upset about this. Like, this has got to trigger something. The whole thing is
even the farmers. well, I'm going to suffer, but he's my president.
Well, and then the funny thing was, we're finding out now too, the farmers. So he did that $13 billion
Yeah.
bailout for the farmers.
That's going to the big corporations.
Yeah,
That's not
the
going to local
regular
farmers.
farmers aren't even going to get it. And they're like, I know 6 different people that I sat down and talked with after they did their taxes that first year that were Trump supporters, that their taxes went up. And they were like, I'm like, so, like, I don't care. We live in Illinois, so your vote, if you're a guy voting for Trump, doesn't really matter.
No.
Like, he's not going to win, so it doesn't matter.
Not in Illinois.
But, right. So if I'm sitting down having beers, I can unemotionally say, so does that change your feelings? Absolutely not. They're going to 100%. And I go, he actually took money from you so he could give wealthy people trillions of dollars in tax cuts, and you are still going to vote for that. I mean, the other lady, the evil lady in the pantsuit, she would have not done that to you, but like she's still evil.
Yeah.
And then
and she really dodged the bullet by not getting elected. With this Senate?
She did that, and she also, so the next election coming up, the Democrats drive me kind of just as crazy. I'm not a Democrat in any way, but the Democrats are.
I refuse to have anything. I won't watch any of that shit.
Well, they're the lovable losers.
Month before the primaries, I'll do some investigating.
Sure.
And then I'm going to ignore it until a month before the election, and I'll make up my mind.
Right.
I'm not voting for Trump.
I just recently made up my mind in the primary. I'm like, I'm on a guy, and that's where I'm going to be. And it's Sanders. That's my guy.
He's way too old.
I know. I agree.
He's older than I am, and I am certainly not energetic or
I
focused
agree.
enough.
I agree. My problem is it's the primary, and I don't have even the other progressive choice, which is Elizabeth Warren. She's just as old. She's
she's younger than I am by 4 years.
I thought
He's older than I am by 4 years.
Oh, so they're 8 years difference.
Yeah.
I
that
still
8 years makes a huge difference.
I do, but I still think they're both too old.
Exactly, and so's Biden.
Right, Biden is, oh my God. And the thing is one person's 80 is a different 80 for everyone.
Exactly.
Biden is old, like 77 or whatever he is.
Yeah.
He's not a young man at all. And he's not a young man mentally. Like when he's
I don't think so.
Right. So.
And I'm not sure Bernie is either.
Oh,
and
really?
he's had a heart attack. Well, he's had the heart attack, and he has and I haven't followed it recently, but he has the same talking points over and over and over.
Absolutely. But that's one of the attractions for me to him is that he's been talking these same talking points for 30 years now. He's the real deal as far as he's walking the same walk that he's been walking.
But you ask him about red or blue, and he'll talk about college education should be free.
Yes.
So he's not talking about red or blue. He doesn't answer the question.
Sure.
When I taught high school, the thing I talked to my students about over and over and over again, read the question and then answer the question asked.
Yes, sure.
And politicians don't do
politicians
that.
Are right. They're really, well, my thing is that when I look at the rest of the field, I want somebody intelligent. I like Andrew Yang, like to listen to that guy talk. Mm-hmm. I like what he has to say. When he...
From what I've seen of him, he seems very emotionless. But as I say, I haven't watched
Right. Well,
much.
Andrew Yang's thing was that $1,000 a month, which at first I was like, this is absolutely stupid. But I listened to a 2-hour podcast where he explains exactly why and how and all.
$2,000 or $1,000 a month for what?
It's a universal basic income. He wants.
Oh, okay. $12,000 a year gets you shit. That would pay for housing.
Right. It won't, and it's not meant to support anybody. It's meant to replace the welfare system that's out there, because the welfare system that's out there is a trap. So if you earn under $23,000 a year, you can qualify for welfare. But the minute you earn 24, you're disqualified from that. And now if you're a disabled person, your Social Security starts to get taxed at $24,000. So the way that it's set up, if you have someone that works at Burger King and the person says, the manager says, hey, we're going to give you a raise. You're going to make $3,000 a year more. You make $23,000 a year. They were like, no, I don't want the raise and I don't want any more hours, because if I go up this much, you give me $3,000 more to work the hours, I'm going to lose $8,000 in my benefits.
Yeah.
So it's a trap. They can't come out of there until they can get this huge step up, which nobody offers them that ever. So then they're in this spot where if you took the universal basic income, every single person gets it. So nobody can complain that you're getting something that I'm not getting. You're cheating. You get it no matter what. And you can earn the more out. You can work the more. You can take that manager's job. You can work your way up the ladder to get to the next spot, and then be a more productive piece of society. With the way that the welfare is set up, if you worked at Burger King and you made $20,000 a year, but you had enough time to go get a job at McDonald's and make another $20,000 a year, now you're going to lose your welfare there too. You would keep the universal basic income, but you'd pay more taxes into everything too. Honestly, by the math that this guy does math, it works out better to do it this way than it does the archaic system that we have. So at first I was like, you're just going to create all these lazy people, but he really just kind of levels the playing field.
Right.
You know what I mean? Sort of thing. And then that will put me back to you. He says that, listen, if you have a job where you have a choice to work 40 hours a week and you can make $35,000 a year, or you can work 60 hours a week, work your entire life away, and you can make another $12,000. Now you might have the choice where you could say, no, my wife and I both are going to collect $12,000 because it's per person, $12,000 each. We're both going to only work our 40 hours. Then we can take time to do painting and to
write a novel. Take a class.
Take a class. Maybe better yourself because you have this buffer.
Watch Netflix.
Hey, if that's what you choose to do, that's what you choose to do. I would opt for the other, like you said, take a class. Like you could, maybe you're working a job that you make $50,000 a year. You get this other $12,000 on top. You get $62,000. You take some classes, and 4 years from now, your base salary is $75,000.
Exactly.
Sort of a thing. So if you can help, like I said, I'm a progressive. If I can find a solution to move forward, then I like that too. And Andrew Yang's a young man. He's a entrepreneur. He's actually, an actual businessman, not a fake one like the guy that's in office now. So I like him also. And he's getting some traction because some people are listening to what he's got to say. But outside of that, I am tired of hearing Democrats say things like, we can't afford this, we can't afford that. We can always afford tanks, jets, and bombs, but we can never afford more education, which I think the country needs. We can never afford health care, which every other first world country does it the other way, and we don't do it that way. So I don't want to hear that the wealthiest country on the planet can't provide health care for its citizens, but Germany can, but Denmark can, but Sweden can, but it doesn't, Canada can.
Italy,
Cuba,
Greece, Cuba.
Right.
Yeah.
They all can do it, but we can't. And we have far more money per capita than these people do. And we own these billionaires. Well, I should say they own us. I mean, $145 billion is what Bezos is worth. Now, I am such a progressive that I think that guy should be on a tax plan that makes it almost impossible for him to have that money until we have no more homeless vets. We have no more homeless people. We don't have a mental health crisis in the country. There are no more starving children. Once all that's taken care of, then Jeff Bezos can have all the money that he wants to. I don't care. And he will, because everything that you do, he owns. I mean, if I start talking about a new pair of shoes, then I see ads for a new pair of shoes because
on social media, because
yes. Oh, if I talk, I think if
because
it's listening.
Alexa has heard you. Yeah.
Right. So
Alexa always hears me unless I ask for something specific, and then she can't figure it out.
Right.
This morning I said, Alexa, play Heinrich Goreski.
I'm gonna play it. No, good.
But she couldn't figure it out.
Right.
So then I asked her to play Piazzolla because I was painting and I want instrumental music.
Sure.
And she found some rock star playing Pizza. Something.
Yeah, she definitely screws some stuff up with that stuff for sure. I mean, I think it's only in that genre of stuff too, because when I first got it, I spent 3 weeks and I thought the angle to stump it was going to be, and I don't have a knowledge of that music enough to even ask for it, but I thought the punk angle was going to be the angle. Like I was going to find some obscure.
No.
It found all that for me. Like no problem.
No, Piazzolla is the Argentine tango king.
Okay, who's the woman? Edith
Piaf.
Yeah, Piaf. I like that. Like I listened to some of her stuff, and then I watched the movie. That there was a movie about
La
her
Vie
life.
Avance.
Yes, yes, and interesting life. Married to the boxer and all the other stuff. Like I mean, just a tragic love affair.
Oh
The
yeah,
whole thing,
yeah.
and then her opera singing was like right along with it as far as they went. Like it was exactly what it was supposed to be. So it's interesting to expand your horizons on that stuff. My musical tastes are eclectic to say the least. Like I love me some Dean Martin, and then I also love me some Sex Pistols, and it's as far one way as it could go
Yeah,
the other
yeah.
way.
I listen to Tom Waits,
Tom Waits, sure, sure, yeah.
Cleo Lane.
Now Tom Waits for me is an acquired taste. I don't listen to Tom Waits right off the bat and like it, but like the fourth or fifth time I hear the thing, I'm like, I like that. I
Yeah,
get it now.
I love Tom Waits.
Right.
Cleo Lane, who's I think just turned 90 or 92,
Wow.
British jazz singer. Cassandra Wilson, whom I love,
Right.
and the classics. She doesn't do the classics. I'll say, play Madame Butterfly. I'll get not the opera, but the overture.
Right, right. Yeah, I don't know how you get me if you got to go because there are some things that I'll say that I want and it plays some live. I'm like I don't want that. I want like I have to stipulate that I want the studio version or album version
Yeah, yeah.
or something like that, and then I get that. And I mean I have some albums that I really liked growing up too, so I know like what album that this Tom Petty song came off of Wildflowers and stuff like that. So, but okay, so the retiring thing and the art. I think it's super neat. I see
I
some.
set up a studio. I
Yep.
paint every day. I noticed on the way down, I have
A little bit of paint.
paint
on it.
on my hand.
Sure,
and
sure.
I took a shower and I washed,
Right.
but still.
Now
So
what? Now, okay, so with the is it just painting or do you do anything else? Do you do any sculpting or?
I don't do any sculpting.
No. Okay.
No, I have, my hands get really dry and they aren't cracked right now, but they crack really easy. When
Now-
I paint, I wear rubber.
Do you have an art history? Is there any kind of like education that you've had for art?
The 30 some hours at Prairie State. I had
Okay.
an art class in high school.
Right.
I wanted to major in art and my parents said absolutely not. So I majored in English.
Now, when you wanted to major in art, what was the parents said no, but what was your plan to maybe a graphic artist or?
Oh, absolutely. No, I was going to be an artist.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I didn't have a plan.
No,
I was 17 when I started
so
college.
now
I had no plan.
That is some of the stuff that we didn't really touch on it that much when I had the college. The guy and her talking about not getting a college degree, but that is some of my issue with. My sons get letters all the time, and they get some letters from like liberal arts colleges and stuff like that, and they want to be engineers. And I'm like, if you don't have an engineering program, then they're not going to go to that school. But they want them for wrestling, and my thing is listen, they need an engineer,
Unless they're going to be Hulk Hogan.
right?
Wrestling is going to be secondary
Oh
in
God,
their lives.
wrestling is like fourth, fifth, sixth thing.
Yeah.
Like, no, and even my sons are not like. I asked them this year. I was like, I go, do you have any thoughts of having, like, either of you ever think of like wrestling as like something you want to like pursue beyond? Like I meant like coaching. Like there's got to be some money and stuff like that. And they're like, absolutely not. I go, so neither. And they know that when I ask them questions, I'm not looking for the answer that I want. I'm looking for their answer. So I'm like, so neither of you ever thought maybe you'd want to be a teacher and then be the coach of the wrestling team? They're like, no, not
Teaching
even.
is a really terrible thing to get into now.
Oh yeah, well, see,
Because they give you a script. If you're not on the right page on the right day, you're screwed.
now YouTube has got so much stuff. I mean, this is episode 40 for me, and they're mostly about 2 hours long. So like I've got 80 hours of stuff that's up there, and then I've got a bunch of other like just small videos and stuff like that that are on there too. They say something like in 1 day of YouTube uploads, it would take you like 2 years to watch everything consistently for 1 day that's uploaded. They're saying that there's enough information, if it could be weeded through to find out what was credible, factual, and stuff like that, that you could get more education from watching YouTube than you could from a college degree. What do you think about like? That's what I'm saying. Like someday, I think a public library is unless it's an area that there's not enough, like you have no resources, that there's a place where a kid can't get a book. A public library is almost a waste of money, and I feel like it's a complete waste of money in New Lenox. You've got
Aren't there an awful lot of latchkey kids who end up at the library?
yes, that's what I'm saying. Like those, but
And that's a really important function.
did you see the cost? I want to say it was like $6 million was the cost of the library, and then the like to put everything in the library and everything else. For that kind of money, you could have issued everybody in New Lenox a brand new iPad every 2 years with every single book available on the iPad.
And in the meantime, the kids are out stealing hubcaps.
Well, I would argue that the crime rates have gone down, 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 and most of it is because most kids nowadays are living their entire life on Snapchat and this. My son's lives are.
Is that a good thing?
It certainly keeps them out of trouble. There were definitely more than 20 nights of my life that I'm surprised I made it home. We used to do crazy shit. We would go out looking for a party. If we couldn't find one, we had a guy that would hook us up with a keg. I would put the keg in the back of my pickup truck. We would just find a desolate road, get a hold of everyone we knew, and we'd meet them out on that road, and we would road load. We would just drink the entire keg gone on the road. And guess what? Everybody's leaving here in a car.
Oh, yeah.
Driving the fuck out of here. So, like, there were nights where we definitely didn't, like, I'm positive I don't know how the hell I made it home. But my sons will spend the entire night chatting with their friends, blah, 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 doing whatever goes on like this, all on their phone. They're all, my sons don't play a lot of video games, but like a lot of them are playing video games and stuff like that. I don't know. I used to think that this was a terrible thing, along with the video games was a dumb thing to do. But there's a kid that just this year made like $3 million playing video games as a gamer.
One kid.
Oh, no. That's like saying my kid's going to be a pro football player. I get it.
Yeah.
But I mean, now that's today, there's a career playing video games where a guy's making millions of dollars. I don't know what it's like lower level, if there's someone out there that can make $100,000 playing video games, but there's definitely jobs in designing those video games, making those video games, all that kind of stuff is all there. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. And if you look at the crime rates since this thing has gone on, it's gone down, 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 down with that. I think you'll see the crime rate go down if we have a terrible winter, right?
Because everybody's stuck inside.
Yeah. They don't go do that. They don't go kill people.
And the hotter it is and more people are outside.
Right. So I know me and my friends, I mean, you said that you had a class with a bunch of felons. They
were both state and federal.
Right. I was for sure a felon. I don't think I did anything.
You're not a felon unless you get arrested.
Right. That's where I was going. I was a non-designated, I did things wrong. Like I got in trouble. I mean, I'm telling you, we had a hair up my ass about fighting. And I really did. I lost friends over it. I had friends of mine that I really like. The one guy I ran into 3 months I hadn't heard from the guy. He ghosted me completely, and there wasn't even ghosting back then. But I'm like, hey man, what's the deal? What's your problem? We were best friends. Where have you? He goes, I just can't. He goes, I can't hang out with you anymore. I'm like, why? And he goes, you're just fighting all the time. And I was. For me, it was fun. We were just having a good time, and it was a thing to do. But we were spending a lot of time running from the police too. Like I would go and the thing was we would go into a bar and play pool. Someone would give us some lip. We'd get into it with them. And then the idea really wasn't to fight these guys. It was to fight the whole group of bouncers because they were really big guys. That's who we wanted. We wanted those guys. So we would get into whatever, and then when they would get after us, we would get after them, and then the whole thing would ensue. But then the cops were coming. We were hiding under cars, and there was a couple of weekends where I had the orange jumpsuit.
Yeah, you got to learn when you pull into the driveway and turn off the engine to take your foot off the brake so the lights aren't showing.
I was looking for trouble, but I was never looking for criminal trouble where I was stealing anything or vandalizing or anything like that. But it was really just looking for my kicks. My sons are 18 years old. They've never been in a fight with anyone except for each other. They have twins, so they fight each other on the regular.
I would suggest that has to do with exercise. I think dogs and kids need exercise.
I think
and your sons are constantly working out and wrestling and training.
Yep.
And that takes care of that.
Right. I hope so. That was really the idea behind it, was they're going to do this and it's going to occupy so much of their time that I'm not going to let that happen, because I didn't want that. But I see that my sons have never had, and maybe it's because of wrestling too, but they've never had a bully. And I had numerous bullies growing up as a kid. Like I had the whole thing where I was like in second grade, first or second grade, and the like fifth grader kid like pulled your pants down and took your pants, like whatever, like some embarrassing crap that they did to you.
That's why my son got into wrestling. Why we got him into wrestling.
Was the bully thing.
The bully thing.
Right.
And once he was a wrestler and punched the first kid in the nose on the bus on the way to school, that was the end of it.
Sure. Now, you weren't a wrestler, right?
No.
And,
I don't have a sports gene.
Right. Yeah, you said that. So, but even though you didn't have a sports gene, could you see the value of the wrestling? Like, did you see a confidence in your son?
Yeah.
Right. Same with me. And I tried
the way he carried himself.
Yep, absolutely.
That was the whole thing. And when he stopped wrestling as a junior, his life changed in a whole lot of not real positive ways. Sure. Although he got into college, they told him he had to maintain a B average in order to keep his scholarship, and he thought that meant high school, so he studied harder, and I did not explain that to him. He was a really good kid in so many ways, but after the wrestling, he followed my parents and started smoking and that kind of shit.
Sure. But I try to explain that to, like, the wrestling thing. I played football. I played hockey. I don't know what else. I played baseball. I played all kinds of sports. The wrestling thing is such a discipline and such a thing. Other sports parents don't get it. They just think like that's the choice that you made, was that one sport. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. And I don't want it to sound like bad. Like, my sons are good kids. They're good people. They try and be good to other people. Like, I've tried to instill, like, listen, you're ever going to own a business, someday you're going to like be hurting for money. Some guy's going to walk in the door. If you're an asshole, he's going to look at you and go, oh, you're that I'm the hell out of here. I'm not buying tires from you. So I try and make sure they're good people, but they still have a tendency to look down their nose at any other sport. If he's a soccer player, he's a soccer player. If he's
my son played soccer.
Right. I mean, I'm not saying anything.
There was a girl on the team who was a Zen soccer player. She never looked at the ball, but she always knew where it was. She was amazing.
That's wild. But my guys look at every other sport like it's below wrestling. Right? And I, on a certain level, agree with them, because you can be a football player. You can be any weight you want to be. You can eat whatever you want to eat. You can do it. You can be. My best friend was the best football player I was ever around. He had 1,000 yards rushing in 6 games. He was completely undisciplined as far as anything went. He just was a animal when he got on the field, and that was good enough. He was also a wrestler, and he got his ass handed to him by better wrestlers. Because they were better at it. Now, I doubt they were stronger than this guy. I doubt they were tougher than this guy. Now, I used to gauge toughness.
They just worked at it, had better skills,
better technique,
more experience.
It's a chess game. You're playing this thing to be. It's a smart person's sport. So, but this guy, I gauge a guy's toughness by, could you get into a fight, lose the fight, and then still want to fight? So, like, everyone has that fight or flight thing, right? Now, I was at a party, and I got into it with a guy.
I'm a complete wuss. I can't be your friend, sorry.
No. I had guys that were not tough, they were my friends. But I got into it with a guy, and he got the better of me, right? So I went over, had a beer, talked, cleaned up a little bit, and I was like, all right. I went back up to him, like, hey, man. I go, I know we went and stuff, and, you got me. But can we go again? And he was like, yeah. So we went again, and I got him. And to me, that was tough, because I didn't get deterred by what had happened. I felt like I could get him. And this guy, this buddy of mine, he was the same way. He was a tough guy. And, but wrestling-wise, he didn't have it as far as that went.
But can you apply those attitudes, skills maybe, to other things? So, you're 45 years old, and the guy comes in, and you can't sell him a car, but he comes in again, and maybe you try it again.
Yeah,
You know,
I apply that
those,
to everything about
yeah,
being a quadriplegic. Everything about being a quadriplegic is what I had um, fallen out of my chair. I was probably only about paralyzed a year, and I think I had a pair of sweatpants on and a t-shirt. I and a pair of sandals. I fell out of the chair, and I was like, all right, I can make a phone call, grab my cell phone at the time, call somebody. They can help me back onto the bed or onto the couch, or I can see what I can do to, solve this situation. So my solution was that, all right, there was a couch in the room. What I was going to do was I was going to take, and I mean, I was frail, like skinny guy
yeah.
at the time. I was going to take the cushions off of the couch, get myself onto the cushions, then get myself onto the couch that had no cushions, then get the cushion back on there, get onto the cushion, put the cushions back, and then get back in the chair. I fell out of the chair on the other side of the room. I drug myself, army crawled, across the room, got over there, got the cushions off. 3 hours later, I'm sitting on the couch with on top of the cushions back on the couch. Then I realized,
Sweating like a stuck pig.
you don't sweat when you're a quadriplegic. So
Oh,
no, hot,
okay.
hot, but not sweating.
Okay.
You don't realize, I didn't realize till I was had it all done, that
Couch is here,
chairs over
chairs
there.
over there.
Forgot
Yeah.
the chair. So I had to throw myself back on the floor again, crawl back over there, get the chair, drag it over to the couch.
Why didn't you throw the cushions across?
I don't know. I just threw myself down, boom, crawled, got the chair. Now, on my way back with the chair, I realized that I had lost a shoe, and my toenail got caught in the Berber carpeting, and I ripped the toenail off of my foot.
Into the quick.
Yes, all the way off, gone. The toenail's there, blood everywhere. I'm like, oh, that's
And
good.
Berbers are always white.
Right. So got the chair back, do the whole thing again. Now I'm better at it. I probably got it all done in about an hour and 10 minutes because I, systematically figured it out. And I got in the chair, got the sandal, got it back on, bandaged up the foot. But so that was for me. That was like everything's
And it
about.
only took a day and a half.
Yep, took all day. But from then on in, I figured out ways to do it, and I got better at it. Same thing
But
now.
you still have your phone if you need it.
If I totally did something where I had a 300-pound chair on my ass, I'm going to call somebody. But so yes, I mean everything was like that. I'm going to determine to do this. Even in the real estate business that I'm in, I get a lot of setbacks. I get people that I talk to them, they like realize that I know what I'm talking about, but then when I go for the sales appointment, they're like, I tell them before, I'm like right before, and I'm like, hey, I'm a guy in a wheelchair. I tell them the story. I go, I've been in the housing industry forever. I can do this job. Here's my, history of doing this job. And there are still people who are like, no, I'm sorry. I can't trust you with my biggest asset. I know. Some people look at me like
It's not your brain that's damaged.
nope, it's not. Well, I've also had people ask me if I do the Special Olympics. I'm like, no, that's for mentally retarded people, not for. I'm handicapped.
It's for younger people, isn't it?
I think so. I don't know, but so everything has been definitely. I believe I'm mentally tougher now than I was then because resiliency has to be my thing. I have to just keep moving forward. And society makes it easy for me. People don't expect me to move forward. People don't expect me to open doors.
We enable everybody. Yeah.
Yes, they don't expect me to do anything. And if, like I said, when we started the podcast, I could be a professional student. I could have gone to school. They would have put me in housing. I wouldn't own a house. None of that stuff. They put me in housing. They would modify my vehicle for me, and they would pay for school, my food, my rent, everything the entire time. All I have to do is keep being a student, which for me would be fun. I think it'd be a blast to keep learning stuff. But I'm also checking out of the responsibility of life. I'm checking out of
It's not real life.
No, it's not. Right. So now you did 33 years of teaching. You retired. How much time do you spend doing painting and stuff like that? And I don't explain. I think that I said to you before.
Probably 20 hours a week painting.
Okay, I said before the podcast that I think a lot of people have a plan to retire. Then they get to that point, they retire, and then they're like,
holy shit, what am I going to do now?
yeah, well, what am I supposed to do?
One of the things before I retired, I applied to get the MFA because I knew if I didn't have a plan, I would not become a couch potato. I'd become a couch.
Okay, right, yeah.
So I did the MFA. And for many years, I went to school to get the extra hours so I would get more money, so my family would be better. Well, this was just for me. And I went to Goddard College in Plainfield, Vermont, which was a low residency program. So twice a year I spent 10, 12 days there.
Yeah, that's pretty there though, right? Real nice looking. Yes.
If I could afford to live in Vermont, yeah. And then after that, every 3 weeks, I would send my 60 pages. Half of that was revisions usually. Part of it was original work because I was in creative writing fiction. And part of it, we had to read and write about, over the 2 years, 48 different books.
Wow.
And they had to be, they called them annotations. I don't know why they were called that because they weren't annotations. But they had to be 2 pages max. You had to take one specific aspect of a writer in the book. So I could choose his use of color descriptives and how did this change the book? And it would have been easier to write 10 pages. 2
Sure.
pages is harder.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because I mean, I think that's from what I've heard about writing is most journeyman writers write too much. It needs to be edited way down. You can get the point across in such smaller spot, which is funny because the one thing that I always go back to with when you teach somebody something, you have to, when we coach, I tell their coach, I go, you need to do it like the assignment where you tell the kid to write how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And it has to be like, get the jar,
A process.
take the lid off, get peanut butter on the knife.
These are the steps.
Right. You have to do all this when you teach, but when you write, you don't need to do all that. Like that's not, when someone says he made a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, they don't need to explain how.
If I'm reading somebody who made a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in a novel,
yes,
I don't want to read all that extra
no,
shit.
right, exactly. The point is across, and he made a peanut, you don't need to do that. But people do write way too much just to get something that they don't need to get across, and then it needs to be edited down. I mean, a lot of English teachers would be like, all right, writing teachers would be like, this 10 pages needs to be 2 pages. There's just way too much here. So now you're for right now in your life, everything you're doing for enjoyment factor, right? You're not like selling art to.
I am selling art.
No, but I mean like not to like live on as far as that goes.
No,
Right.
I would be considerably thinner. No, when I retired, I did a lot of things. I wrote the novel.
Mm-hmm.
I tried being a publisher, and I published a couple books, and after about 5 years and losing $10,000, I think I had 1,000 books of each author printed, and I sent them to the authors and said,
take a picture of it too and put it on there. But that's the book now. How old is this?
I published it in 2004. I started it in 2000.
And what's it's a family plot, but what is the
Okay.
the gist?
Well, my mother-in-law was number 2 of 15.
Oh yeah, look at that.
And this
that
started
sounds
out
like
to
a lot.
be,
I got a roommate then when I was in the hospital that was the youngest of 23.
I can't imagine.
I know. Same mom and dad.
So this was going to be a revenge novel.
Okay.
But after about 10,000 words, all these characters sat on my shoulder and started telling me their stories, and it had nothing to do with her family. And it's much better, I think.
Okay.
It's kind of magical realism. It's the father and the mother and how they meet and get married, and it follows.
There's an old timey photo on there, but what's the time frame? What is it?
It takes place from the 20s to 2000.
Okay. All right.
And the cover is my father-in-law is the tall one. This is an old family picture.
Sure.
That looked good. And because there were 15 kids, they had to work together to get around certain things, like being the white trash in the town,
Sure.
like dad who was abusive in a whole lot of ways. And on the other hand, not everyone survives. So at the edge of the farm is this little tiny cemetery plot with 10, 12 graves in it. So that's also the family plot.
The family plot, right? Okay.
So there's this pun.
Have you ever seen the? Oh, yeah, right. Have you ever seen?
There's a movie, The Family Plot.
Oh, is there?
Yeah,
I don't know what that
from
is.
the 40s, maybe. I don't know. I don't think I've seen it.
No, there's a late night with Seth Meyers has Fred Armiston on there. He's a drummer.
Oh, yeah.
And you ever
I
seen
hate that. He looks at the picture
the
and
book?
tells you the
Yes,
story.
right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
It is so dumb. It's
Yeah,
to me, it's,
and-
it's comical because it's stupid. But yeah, they just keep doing
I
it.
find it so stupid it's not comical.
Right.
You
Well,
know, once or twice, but he does
right.
it over
Yes,
and over.
yes.
No, he's not my favorite.
the first time that he did it, I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. And then like I've like checked in on that show 30 times, and they do it every single time.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
oh my god, stop doing that same
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, it's
But-
too much.
so-
Seth Meyers, I think, is brilliant.
He is.
And
you can find
Amber
this on
is our
Amazon.
favorite. Amber says, what?
Oh yeah, yes.
What?
Yeah, she's what? This is on Amazon. You can find this.
No, it's out of print.
Oh, it's out.
They didn't tell me it was going out of print, but it's no longer on Amazon. However, my other book, Maximilian and the Man with No Nose, which is a chapter book for boys in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade,
Okay.
although I think other people would enjoy it,
Yeah.
is available on Amazon.
Now what is that about?
It's about a kid who's bullied.
I met a guy with no nose. It doesn't have a guy with actually no nose in it.
There's a guy with no nose
Okay, all right, yeah.
who is kind of central to the plot, whose father took him camping in New Mexico in the mountains, and the father dies of a heart attack, and the kid, his nose is bitten off.
Sure. Wow. Yeah, that's. Now, how did you? It's fiction, right?
Yeah,
So how did you develop those characters? Like, where do you?
what a good question.
Where do you draw that from? Like,
Well-
no nose and.
We moved around a lot when I was a kid, so from 2nd through 5th grade, we lived in Albuquerque.
Okay. Yeah.
One of the reasons I don't have a
that's
sports
different.
gene,
That's
because there weren't
Alright.
sports in Albuquerque.
Sure.
It was all crafts and cool stuff. Yeah. And then we moved to Minneapolis for a couple of years.
Oh wow, another nice. Yeah, that's a nice place too. I like Minneapolis.
And then I started high school. I went to high school in Decatur, which is kind of the groin of Illinois.
It's pretty bad. That and what's the other place that's down there? Where I was just down there at. There's the meth problem that goes on in like central Illinois.
Oh, yeah,
It's
yeah.
crazy, and it's weird to live. Like we live all pretty much up in that Lincoln Way area. They're sheltered. They don't understand that this is what's going on.
It's a white privilege bubble in a whole lot of
Oh,
ways.
it is. It is. I mean, we were down in Danville, and
Yeah.
you pulled into like a fast. I don't eat fast food. Today is the 14th of this year. I have yet to have fast food yet this year. Now, my schedule's crazy. It's absolutely nuts. Like today, my schedule is I got up, got in the shower, got out of here. I had a contract to submit to an attorney and to the lender. I had to get over to Best Buy, get the thing installed, come back here, get something to eat, do a podcast. I'll get done with this, and then I got to book off to coach wrestling tonight. And then in the meanwhile, like I'll be trying to learn German and do everything I can. But geez, I don't know where I was going with that. So I don't do fast food. But with the wrestling and everything else going on, there are times where I'm like, a whole day has gone by and I've had no time to I didn't eat all day. Oh my God, I didn't eat. I got to eat something. And I bust through the fast food place. I bust through the fast food place in Danville, and everybody in there looked like they were on meth. Every single person was out. I'm like, holy, like toothless and like just I'm like, whoa.
Haggard.
Yes, and the food was Taco Bell's bad to begin with. This was worse.
I haven't been in Taco Bell in years.
Yeah, no,
and years.
that might have been one of the last times I was there, but it was bad. And then when you talk to some people that are down that way, it's a huge. I mean,
Huge problem.
I did the podcast about opioids and opioid addiction, and I had people reach out to me that were from Watsika and down. It is rampant. It is unbelievably bad. I'm sure there's people dealing with it in the New Lenox area. The guy that was on was from the New Lenox area, but it's so much worse in the impoverished areas. I learned. I always thought that drug addicts and tough guys came from the city, when I was growing up. It's the other way around. Those country kids got nothing to do except for to do drugs, screw each other, knock each other up. They're all pregnant and get addicted to drugs and everything else because there's just nothing to do. You've got culture. You've got the city and everything else that's there. You can go to a show. You can go, take a class. You can, I am not the quintessential, I was the guy that was punching the head, so I wasn't exactly the artsy guy, right?
You're not Mr. Culture.
No, as I got older, I kind of was. I enjoy, it's going to sound like some of my guy friends are like, what? I enjoy going to a play. I went to a Nina Simone play about the church burnings down in, it was awesome. It was I enjoy all that very, very much. And a play is it's overacted. It's, but it's still wonderful as far as that goes.
You're in a different place for a while.
Yes. And it's just these people that are putting this whole emotion and everything all together without the, Marvel movie sound effects and all the other nonsense. It's just them doing it.
In some ways, it's like reading because you still have to project certain things
outside of what's going on
in your head.
Right. So that stuff's wonderful to me. And I've never looked at my sons I think sometimes hey, why don't you guys diversify a little bit and take a acting class or take something that's outside of your comfort level as far as that goes.
Work on your weaknesses. You already have strengths.
Right. So you took a bunch of college courses with the art and stuff like that. Explain to somebody who I ran into some people who don't like music, and I'm always
I don't understand that.
Nope, I'm befuddled by it. I can't even. I'm wait. I hear certain music, and I want to almost there's music that I hear that if this doesn't make you want to move dance-wise, then something's wrong with you.
Play me Santana and I'm moving around the room.
Right. Well, for me, it's old R&B. If anything like that, there's.
And in the art class, I wear my earbuds and I'm painting, and suddenly I'm dancing.
Yes, right.
And I grab the instructor sometimes when we dance because I've known her for years, and
so there's a happiness that you get from the art, and then the music adds to it and stuff like that. So if you were to explain to somebody who just they look I go to the Art Institute and I try and look at things, and I really enjoy the times. I have probably been to the Chicago Art Institute, I would say a good 18 times. That's a lot. I'm 48 years old, and I've been there 18 times.
We've been members for 40-some years.
Right. So I'm sure you got ways surpassed. But
we also live in Homewood, and we're 6 blocks from the train. We can hop on the train.
Right. But explain to someone who's when they look at art, they just see oil on a canvas and that's it. They don't
stand back farther.
Yeah, maybe so.
What patterns do you see?
Right. Well, okay, that and
what
where's
colors?
the enjoyment?
How does the color move you?
Right. I see it and the art is set up so nice because it's really set up with almost, I don't want to say motifs, but there's emotions that go on in different spots of the Art Institute that you can go into. And I think there's people out there that are drudging through their lives. There's so much to do that they just don't have time for that shit. It's so much easier to turn on, The Voice or some shitty TV show.
Jesus.
Right. Who's the singer underneath that stupid hat? That's what they do. Because it's
I don't watch any of that shit.
Right. But it's a Taco Bell. It's a drive-thru, right? So it's what they get.
It's bubble gum for the mind.
Right. So explain to them why they should be all right, listen, fuck it. Next Sunday, I'm going to go, and I should go to the Art Institute.
Everything you do impacts on everything else you do. It
certainly impacts on your kids.
It informs everything else you do.
Right.
So every book I read changes me just a little bit. And what's today, the 15th?
14th, yep.
14th? I've read 6 books this year so far.
Nice. Yeah,
because they're on Kindle and I can just zoom through them, and when I'm done, I choose another one. And I mostly read trashy beach reading mysteries.
Sure.
But still,
learn
a whole lot of stuff from reading mysteries.
Right.
Every piece of art I look at informs everything I do. Every book I read informs my art. Every television program I watch I'm following the story and I'm watching the characters and I'm looking at, did you see that picture on the wall?
Oh yeah, right. That is
Because
interesting. Yeah.
um,
My love of music helps me. Oh, so my love of music can help me watch a movie and get it better because they're
exactly.
playing that in the movie and it makes
Right.
sense.
We've had a piano practically, well, at least 48 of the 52 years we've been married.
Okay.
And I play at, not very often, not well at all, and I don't practice often enough. And I limp through Christmas carols. That's
Sure.
mostly, but if it's there, if I want to play it, it's there. A couple years ago, I bought a guitar at a garage sale for $10. And I took guitar lessons for a year.
Right.
I learned so much about music.
Sure.
And
Sure.
my fingers are too arthritic. I can't do chords, but I can pick.
Yeah. Right.
I can pick out the melodies. That's cool.
Right.
And it's all for my own amazement and my own amusement. But everything I do informs everything else. So I pick up rhythms in the music.
Right.
When I write, I can write so that I create rhythms. When I paint, I create rhythms.
Sure. This is what I would like to see more people do. Is I would classify you as a Renaissance man, right? You're doing all these. Well, right. You're
Somebody told me the other day I'm a Renaissance man.
Right.
Bullshit. I'm not a Renaissance man.
But you are dabbling
I
in
have
all of these
the last science class I had was in college,
Okay.
and it was botany.
It just
The
that
last
interest.
math I had was in high school, and the last math class I had was 1962.
Sure. Right.
I can still figure the tax in my head, add it up, and tell people how much this is going to be.
Right. You don't have a problem leaving a tip, as far as the
No,
right. You
and
need a
I-
calculator.
mostly because I go out for breakfast with a friend of mine, and that's the only thing we do out because
Sure.
I'm a much better cook than I can get
Right.
in restaurants. And I figure that the minimum these days is $3 per person, so I don't have to think about
Yeah.
tip.
Oh yeah. Right. Just the breakfast.
Two of us, that's a $6 tip.
Right. Yeah. Breakfast is kind of that way because you sometimes don't make the the amount on it's a $30 breakfast or something like that.
Yeah,
Just don't know.
for two of us.
But
so,
but
so everything you do informs everything else you do.
right.
So I take a creative writing poetry class at Prairie State.
Right.
That informs everything else I do because I think about things differently and it changes the patterns in your brain.
Sure. Now,
So that you
you've
can-
been
you can
married
think-
for 52 years, you just said, right?
Yeah.
50. Now, I would try and encourage somebody to, look into something. Now, it doesn't have to be the classes that Bill's talking about, but something because, like, I got
Take welding.
Right. You can do art that way too, right?
Oh,
you
hell
can
yes.
create some pretty cool shit that way. And coming from the construction business, there's a instant gratification generally from that job, right? Every single day, when we leave a job with my boys, and it took a little bit of like coaching to get them to do this, but every single day that I'm there, we're leaving. I'm like, hey, you stop for a minute. Now turn around and look
Look at what you've done.
what you've done.
Look what
Like,
you've
this
accomplished.
looks good, right? Like you need to take a
And I think that's one of the reasons I cook and I paint and I write
Right.
because I taught high school English. And I see the results of that now
right.
because I have a lot of former students who are
Sure.
friends on Facebook. And they write me, like Carl
Mm-hmm.
writes me at least once a year. And we love Carl and Kelly. That,
Trying to get him
Never-
on a podcast. He keeps ghosting on me.
well, he never liked to read until we read The Grapes of Wrath.
Mm-hmm.
And I made them read. There were teachers, because it's written in two parts. So there's the philosophy chapter, and then there's a narrative chapter, and then a philosophy and a narrative. And a lot of teachers read only the narratives and forget the philosophy. I made them read the whole thing. Not that they all did.
Sure.
I'm not that naive. But Carl did. Carl's a brilliant guy.
Oh yeah. No, he's super smart. Absolutely. Yeah, and he's
And empathetic and kind.
absolutely. But his my empathy only goes so far because when someone's an asshole, I lose it right away for you. Like, hey man, that's who you're gonna be. That's who you're gonna
Well,
be. And then I can just beat up on you and all that stuff. Carl gets like he stays away from the Facebook stuff. I think because it, to his core, things bother him about something that someone's saying, and he can't get past it. I write
he's
him
on
off.
Facebook every day, though.
He's on there, but it's it's cat stuff, and like he just kind of
Well, yeah.
because I think it does. It sticks.
Maybe
with
because I'm so much older than you are. I'm finding, and I'm working at it. This is a conscious effort. I know these people are assholes.
Yes.
And then I step
I
back
wanna
and
say
say,
that some of them aren't.
why
Some
are
of
they
them
an
like-
asshole?
Right. I'm trying to figure out why.
What is it? And we don't know.
Right.
Did they just get fired? Are they impotent?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
There's that. Right.
Do they have
for sure.
tiny hands?
Yep.
Not to
Right.
get political.
No.
But
That's not even political, dude. I mean, guys with tiny dicks got problems. I mean,
Oh.
they've ruined the world. I mean, they say Hitler had a micro penis and
he only had one ball.
one ball, right? However it works, but I mean, I don't know. You need to
That's
get
why.
over that.
That's why they drive gigantic cars.
Right. They're compensating for something.
Yeah.
I get it. Right.
Yeah, people
And
compensate all over the place.
You need
And
to-
what is it they're compensating for? And I probably will never know. But knowing that they're compensating makes me consciously try, not succeed, but try to be kinder.
Yeah. I have to consciously try to put my snarky in a place where it's
Oh,
not.
yeah.
I mean, I do, because I mean, there are times where I'm like, clearly more intelligent than you are. I've clearly more read on this subject, and they're literally
Yeah,
on
so
my.
why don't you just shut the hell up?
Well,
Yeah.
they're just on my page calling everybody cocksuckers, sons of bitches, and dumbass this. And,
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, all right, like this isn't even worth my time to do this with you. Like I don't know.
When I got on Facebook, I made friends with everyone I could find named Bill Moser because I thought that was funny. So
Right?
my dad's parents were divorced in the 20s.
Yeah, I get it.
Cat.
Yeah.
Okay. Were divorced in the 20s, and the Mosers were anathema.
Okay.
So he did a lot of research and did the genealogy and traced us back and all that shit. But we don't know any Mosers. So,
Oh, okay, all right.
So many of them turned out to be cousins. Distant cousins.
Yeah, I got tons of them that are like
Yeah,
South
yeah.
America and stuff
Yeah,
like that, which I was
yeah.
like, wow. Yeah,
Because
I
they
have
were
a bunch of
Nazis
people-
and got away. Yeah. Anyway.
Right, that's probably
But-
it. I got
but-
a bunch in
but
Germany
this-
that download the podcast.
Yeah. This
That's
one
weird.
guy who is Mr. I love Trump. And I put something up the other day about who cares about Harry and Meghan.
Oh God.
Why
yes.
is that news
Oh,
in the United
I had that
States?
same conversation
And
with,
somebody,
with a girl.
one of my friends in Vermont wrote, because it's a racist thing. And you go, how is this racist? And I wrote, because she's biracial and the British press is giving her all kinds of shit, so don't get your knickers in a twist.
Right. Oh, I think it's a part
And
of the
today,
reason they want to do
that
it,
was
they-
like 2 days ago. Today's his birthday.
Okay.
And I wrote, happy birthday, wishing you a year full of tolerance and loving kindness. So we'll see. He
No.
may unfriend me, and
Yeah.
I've never met him.
Right.
I've never met any of these guys, but they can. And I could unfriend him because he's so rabidly and antithetical to what I believe. But I think it's really important that we listen to all points of view.
Yeah, there some people I want to hear. I'm fascinated by how they've come to this position to be in that. It seems to me like such a horrible position to take as far as like what you care about people and stuff like that. But I think there's a machismo to it too. I think some guys that are not the toughest guys, maybe they're not even the toughest guys of character or anything like that. They want to take that persona of the tough guy.
They align with. He's speaking for them.
Yes,
in
right,
so many
right.
ways.
Well, he's also the
and I'm
asshole.
afraid I'm going to lose my job because immigrants are coming in. Well,
Yeah, and if that's your problem, then you need a better job. Because
Well,
you're talking about people that can't.
and
even
how
speak
can you
the
get a better
language.
job in this economy?
No, it's there. Well, and the other one is that I see.
And if you live in West Virginia, and
The other one I see is the people who want to pull the ladder up in the lifeboat. So it's the second generation people from Mexico that are absolutely adamant that nobody else comes over here.
Oh, really?
Like they
See,
get into
that's
the
not...
lifeboat and they pull it. I don't know.
Maybe because of Prairie State, I know so many dreamers.
Is that okay? So I think I went through a list the other day of people that are not first generation immigrants to this country, but second generation from Mexico. So like, their last name is Garcia or something like that. And they're all rabid Trump supporters.
Really?
Build the wall.
Like Stephen Miller.
Stephen, like, no, they're probably huge fans of Stephen Miller. You know what? The other thing that I find ironic about this thing is, or irony is not the right word. These people all look terribly evil too. That who was the Breitbart guy in the beginning? That
Oh, yeah.
he was an awful looking human being. Stephen Miller looks as evil. If I was to
Stephen-
draw evil, like,
Yeah,
he looks
yeah.
an evil guy.
The Breitbart guy, I can't remember his name. He looked dirty. He was so unkempt.
Right. Just
And
yep.
I got a shower. I combed my hair. I put on a clean shirt without paint today.
Right.
Although I do have paint on my pants.
But yeah, no. So I mean, these people look the part of this too. It's like it's the weirdest. It's like everything's right there for you to see, and they don't see it. The cognitive, the dissonance is. To me, it's sometimes it's mind blowing. And then the things that have gone on. I mean, he's literally put kids in cages, and then
I know.
you get the fake
Those
news
things
thing.
make me weep.
Right, but you get the fake news thing that says Obama did that too, or Obama built the cages. Listen, that's not how it went though. Like, you didn't read the article that explained the difference between what went on. There was a, Sessions got a news conference and explained how they were going to change this, and he explains exactly the difference between their philosophy and Obama's, and it was supposed to be a deterrent. The problem is when you live in a country in South America or even Mexico where the cartels are literally shooting your family,
God. You might as well be in Danville.
Right. Anything is better than this. So they're going to come.
Yeah.
You're not going to deter them by saying you're going to put them in a cage, because at least they're going to be, somewhere safer than they were before. So it's not a deterrent.
Minimally, yeah.
Minimally, right. Well, minimally, because I mean,
they're going to get shot, probably.
Right, kids in cages.
They'll die of the flu instead.
That father and daughter died trying to swim across the river, and it's all bad. The last one that's drove me.
We used to be a nation of hope.
Right. Well, the last one that drove me a little bit nuts was the pissing contest that Little Hands had with the Iranian government, where they killed the general. Then the Iranians decided to do this thing where they shoot a bunch of missiles into a base where they know nobody's going to be. Because they're not going to...
And shoot down a Ukrainian airline for no apparent reason.
Well, that's the thing that happened by accident. The one missile they shot, took off and hit the airplane that was in the sky there, because I don't know if it honed in that it was something that was supposed to hit. And it killed 179 people, 63 of them are Canadians and stuff. How isn't this administration responsible? I know we didn't fire the missile, but how are they not responsible for this happening because you killed the general? The reciprocation was this missile attack. And I mean, everything that the Iranians did, the missiles that they used were very, very accurate. They only hit this one part of the fort, the base that they were aiming at. The whole idea was...
And there was all kinds of advanced knowledge, so nobody's hurt.
Right, but they did it so they could save face with their people and say, we struck back. They killed our general, we struck back. But if they would...
And according to the Trib this morning, there's all kinds of riots going on in Iran now.
Well, because of the plane coming down, for sure, because there was 100 Iranians on the plane, and their own government shot the plane down. Right, so but how aren't we responsible also for our actions in this situation? I mean, I find that
we are responsible for his actions whether we want to be or not.
Correct. Right. So all this stuff is going on. I mean, I have paid attention pretty good to politics since the end of Clinton. That's about the right age for me. I'm in my 20s. I start paying attention to that stuff. This is the most disastrous presidency by far that I've ever seen. It really is. And I am also not a person that, if he gets reelected, I'm not going to be even remotely upset. It's going to be, I got reelected, whatever. The only thing I'm going to be upset about him getting reelected is the judges. They're appointing so many judges that are unqualified, and the only qualification is that
they're evangelicals.
They're super right-wing, and then the other qualification, it's a trifecta, they're in their 40s. They're young
Yeah.
judges. They want them to be there for the next 20 some odd years. So like this is what's going on, and the problem is the country, whether you believe it or not, I know you probably don't have a thought on it different than mine. The country is center left for sure. Like people want their own. They don't. Most people I talk to, even if they're conservative, don't care about gay marriage. They don't care about the conservative social stuff. But now these judges,
A lot of people are really honed in on abortion.
that. But I honestly, like I was at a ball game and a woman wanted to have that conversation with me at a ball game, and I was like, all right, listen, I don't really want to have this conversation. She's like, well, my friend told me you're this big liberal. And I'm like, well, I would say I'm progressive, not liberal. But if you want to have that conversation, I can explain to you. She was like, black and white. There should be no abortions. I'm like, all right. Then we got to talking. She went to fertility, had like 30 embryos made, and then had implants, and then they discarded it. I'm like, how is that different? She's like, well, and I'm like, no. How is that? It's still an embryo. It's life.
Yeah.
And then you discarded it. And she's like, well, okay. And then she went to like late term. I go, you don't understand. You need to look up the problem is it's the education thing. Again, they're uneducated. They don't understand that these late term abortions are like 0.0002% of all.
Yeah.
It's
they
almost
hardly
nothing.
ever happen.
And you need a panel of doctors you need 3 physicians that took an oath to do no harm to okay this to go on. Like, these people firmly believe that they actually give birth to children and then scramble their brains, or like the partial birth abortion where the head comes out and they put the thing in. Like, I go, none of that is
That
a
doesn't
thing.
happen.
No, right. That's not a thing. Now, abortion for me personally, I'm against it. I have a daughter and 2 sons, and I said to all 3 of them, listen, we're not wealthy, but we have enough money that I don't care if you're 17 years old. If my daughter gets pregnant, have the kid. We'll raise the kid. We'll do everything we can. I promise you, I'll put my life on hold so you don't have to put yours on hold. You can go to college. You can do all the things you need to do, but we won't do that. And I go, but in the end, to my daughter, it's still your choice.
Absolutely.
But you have this option.
I have no say in anyone's abortion because, number one, I'm not getting anybody pregnant.
Right.
And number 2, I'm never going to have a baby or not.
Well, number 3, you're a religious guy, and God gives you free choice, free will in the Bible. Why am I taking the will away from
anyone else?
From anyone else.
Why am I imposing my views, or maybe not my views? That's not religious freedom.
Right. Well,
that's why the Pilgrims came, because they wanted to have their freedoms, and they didn't want other people telling them what to think. They, of course, then imposed what they thought on everybody else.
Right. Well, I like the internet meme that says, my religion says I can't do that. And the other mouth says, good. The next one says, my religion says you can't do that. The other mouth says, fuck off.
Exactly.
Like, that's not how this works.
No.
You get to do what you want to do. I get to do what I want to do. And then if there is a deity, then he's going to judge me by my actions. The analogy I give is, if a guy was put on a desert or a tropical island where all his needs were met, but he couldn't, there was no one else there to do anything with, but all he wanted to do was molest children and kill people. Is he a good person? No, because that's what he wants to do. God would know your heart, sort of a situation, right? So making it impossible to get an abortion doesn't change the person. They still wanted it. They'll probably get a back alley one, and then it's all going to go haywire. So, right. So, I mean, those are my thoughts.
They make abortion illegal. I'm ready to head the movement to buy knitting needles dipped in red paint to send them to every congressman.
Right, and that's the thing. They'll only make safe abortions illegal. That's what's going to happen. Like, you're just going to make it
unsafe or already illegal, but what the fuck?
Right.
It's like
there are people that just
opioids are illegal unless they're prescribed, and even then,
99.9% of the time, a guy commits a crime to get something because there's something terrible going wrong. People don't rob banks because just for fucking shits and giggles, let's go rob a bank. They rob a bank because their kids are starving or something is going on, their land's getting repossessed, some shit's happening that's going bad. So,
Les Miserables.
Right. So, but the as far as we keep getting off the topic here, I want people
Was
to
there a
understand.
topic?
No, I don't. It's pretty, it is pretty loose. I don't really, and I kind of like it that way. Like I like to, I
It's
like
a
to,
conversation. Conversation.
Right,
It's
I
not
like
a
to have
lecture. It's not a
conversations.
TED talk.
Right,
It's a
and
conversation.
I think there has been nobody on my podcast that I wouldn't have back again. You included, and you were. I mean, if 3 weeks from now you're like, hey, I'd like to come back into the
Oh,
by all
I
means,
would be delighted to come back
right,
again.
come back.
I want to talk about something different
Right, exactly.
and stay on topic.
Right. I don't like I said.
Whatever the topic is.
If we
yeah.
veer off, we veer off. It's all fine.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's fine.
I had a real estate conversation the other day, and somehow we spent a half an hour on porn. So I don't know how we got there, but
Yeah, well,
it happens.
was he for it or against it? Did he enjoy it?
It was a female.
Oh.
So, but the thing is there's a whole genre of real estate porn. So like, right, and it was good for a laugh, and it's the whole like.
Is that like food porn?
No, it's not.
No,
right. It's like the thing that I equated it with was it's like the old porn where the lady orders a pizza with extra sausage, the guy shows up and then they have sex. You get a real estate agent.
extra sausage.
Right. You get the real estate agent, and then you end up having sex with the real estate agent.
Yeah.
But so no, and I think I almost like it that way because then it leaves things to talk about. But the main thing that I really wanted, that I saw most interesting, was that there's a lot of people that don't pay attention to art. They don't get what is.
They don't pay attention to anything. They have blinders on. And if
Right.
it doesn't affect them very directly, and if it doesn't put money in their pocket or food in their mouth or gratify them in some way, they aren't interested.
Right. And I think they're missing the point because art is hugely gratifying. That's the point
Life,
of art.
life is
Can be
gratifying.
right? But I mean, we put together a whole like division of military, the monuments men, the guys to
Say that.
there was a general that said, well, we could save this town or something like that, but we probably can't save the art. And the general was like, then what are we doing this for? Like, this is the thing this is what we're trying to get back to, is enjoying the arts and stuff like that. When I see people that are dead
It's
set
living a
against
whole life.
funding the arts, it drives me nuts.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Like, you want to defund the arts because you want to just dredge through your life and go to your job, and like, you're missing the point.
Kids do much better if they have art, and they certainly do better in math if they have music.
Right. No, I believe that. Yeah. No.
And one of the
music
most beautiful places, not the most beautiful, but one of the most beautiful is Prague that I have been, because it was never hit during World War II. They never bombed it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Right. That's good.
The most beautiful place I've ever been on earth is Venice.
That was right. That was bombed though, right?
I don't think so.
Oh no, that was what, too far south or something.
I don't know.
Yeah. Oh.
I don't know. Nobody ever talked about anything like
Well, I
that.
guess they. But so what?
Why would they bomb? It's not a military.
Well, I thought it was. I know. I watched a documentary on World War II, and Paris. They left Paris because of the architecture. The Parisians didn't want it bombed, so they just said, "All right,
We surrendered.
We surrender and we left." Now French are labeled with this, thing where they just surrender very easy, but they did it for a reason. They did it for the art. They
Yeah.
did not want these things destroyed. So they said, "Listen, you can take the city. You're never going to take our hearts. So we're going to walk out of here, and it's
Yeah.
yours." And then the Nazis were super surprised at how easy it was to take Paris. Well, yes, they didn't want the Eiffel Tower bombed. They didn't want all this thing destroyed.
Yeah.
But
Paris is a beautiful city too.
I've never been. I do.
I got my pocket picked there once.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah.
I sit
Not
on
my
mine,
favorite
so
city,
no
and
problem.
people were enormously rude. But
No, that. I've heard that, but I want to see it for sure. And I have a. I know it's strange because like I like World War II, and I actually like to see how the Germans did what they did. Like, that's a country the size of Wisconsin, and they damn near took over all of Europe and
they were pretty organized.
that is after the Treaty of Versailles, where they were told that you couldn't be military the way that they made this military monster out of it.
That's because it's so Newtonian, I think. The equal and opposite reaction
Yes,
to
I think it's
the horrible action.
now maybe you're saying the same thing, but I think it's the oppression.
Yeah.
They were forced down, And the harder you oppress somebody, the harder they come back up.
They push back.
Right,
Yeah.
push back. And they
Yeah.
the treaty of
Every
Versailles,
action, equal and opposite reaction.
trying to be unbiased, but the treaty of Versailles was unfair. Like that was
Oh,
not
horribly.
right. I mean, and if you looked at World War One, okay, the Germans were on the side that lost, but if they would have won, they would have got to write their part of it too.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about World War One to say that they were anywhere near as horrendous as they were in World War Two, as far as the philosophy went. Now, there's all kinds of Germans who claim that they didn't know that they were right. I don't buy that either. You couldn't not smell it, but I still am fascinated by that. And then I love engineered things. Like I love tech stuff. I like a rifle not because it kills something, but because it's an amazing instrument that you can place around 100 yards away within the size of a silver dollar if you're doing it right. It's engineered very. I mean, and I love like German engineered cars and like all that kind of stuff. Some of the reasons that the Germans did so well was the engineering background that was there, and they were
All that precision,
super
all that
intelligent.
yeah.
Right.
Fine detail.
Right. So, but the as far as that goes, Europe, I want to go to Europe, but I want to go for like 60 days where I can just be there, be fully immersed into it because I want to understand what the culture is today. I always turn a weird nose or like a side eye people when they don't like other countries, but then the next question out of my mouth is, have you been to another country? No. Okay. Like George W. Bush had never been outside of the United States, and he was president of the United States. That to me, I was like,
Really?
what? I think he said he'd been to Canada or something like that. Just my time. I used to spend quite a bit of time in Canada. It's a completely different culture there. Like as far as that goes, I mean, those people can drink. Woo! I mean, I have been drunk
But
way under the table by those people.
I was in Toronto one day
Okay.
during Ganja Fest, and I saw one drunk on the subway, and I know there were people stoned out of their
Oh,
minds.
sure, right.
And totally drunk, but it's not like going to Chicago where people are puking all over the place.
Yeah, they definitely have a different culture when it comes to that. Like even the times that I've been with those people, and they do drink like well, but they don't seem to get it's not amateur hour or something like that. It's
Yeah,
almost like a
they
professional.
taste it better.
I don't know how they work.
I don't drink much, and
Right.
I probably don't drink well, but I only have one drink once in a while. So
I'm not a big drinker anymore either, but that's the thing. Like in Europe too, like wine is a thing that's just it's a diuretic. They're drinking it with it helps you digest your food sort of a thing.
I'm allergic, but
Okay, right. So I love it. I love to open a bottle of wine, but so I want to be immersed into it. I've been to Mexico twice, and one of the times we were offered like an all-inclusive, and I was like, oh my God, if we do that, I'm not going. They're like, oh really? It's supposed to be really? I'm like, I don't care if they're making great food. I'm going to another country. I want to see, like, I want to go out and rent a car and go everywhere I can to see how it is in this country. And I was amazed when I did go to Mexico the two times I went. We rented it's got a Volkswagen engine. It's a dune buggy sort of thing. You can go everywhere. And it's a different world. I mean, I know that there's people living in like shacks in this country, but they're living in like grass huts.
I know.
I was like, this is a mud building, and the lady's like got a broom and she's sweeping out off the dirt floor, and there's chickens running around. And I'm like, oh my God, like this is like a step back in time sort of a thing. The food is completely different. Like,
it's not Tex-Mex.
no, I don't understand how a person doesn't understand. New Lenox has Burrito Loco, and then they have Taco Bell. If you go past either of them, there's way more people at Taco Bell than there is at the authentic, place where you can get a decent burrito and a decent taco. It makes no sense to me. They're right down the street from each other. Why would you possibly ever go to this mess?
Advertising.
It is, and it's fast food is consistency. So you're going to get the same thing every time.
But if it's a good restaurant, it's consistent.
It is, and I mean, so like I don't know, people need to like not. That's again, I think that the guy that got elected president, I keep going back to this guy, but he gets McDonald's everywhere he goes. Like it's crazy that's shitty food. It's bad. That's not good. I love to go to a different, if I drive 5, 6 hours from here, go to northern Wisconsin, I go to Minnesota, Michigan, I want to ask somebody at a gas station, hey, what's the mom and pop? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
give me what's in the area that I can get. And surprisingly enough, if you really look for these things, uh, if you go up to northern Minnesota, you find a Norse culture up there. Like the Vikings are the football
Right.
team, but those are all Viking people too.
Yeah.
Like you can find the greatest crepes and waffles and all that because it's like way better than. But people just go through the drive-through at McDonald's up there and get an egg McMuffin, and I'm like, oh, you got that at home? What's wrong? Like, so and art to me is the same thing. Like if I went somewhere to Germany or something like that, I would want to see. I love a cuckoo clock, a Stein, that's
Yeah,
all
yeah.
art of some sort. I mean, and there's a million different arts. You paint, there's sculpting. You could do clay pots. You could do like there's a million things.
Well, drawing and painting are totally different.
Right, but human beings make things with their hands. This is a human thing that
Yeah,
we've done
yeah.
over the millions of years we've been on the planet. And there's so many humans right now that never make anything with their hands at all.
Not even dinner.
I want people that right. I want food is another art too, but I want people that listen to my podcast to venture out and do something with yourself that you wouldn't do. You would be amazed at the satisfaction you have when you make something. Now you might have to practice it a bunch of times. I mean, the first artwork you did probably was not the greatest artwork in the world.
The first time I tried to walk, I fell down.
Right. So keep trying. I've done all kinds of things around my house as far as building stuff and everything else. It's gratifying to me when I'm done building it because I get to use whatever's there. But it's also gratifying because people come over and they're like, man, that's a pretty cool deck. That's a nice spot. This is nice. You know, like it's nice to have,
Yeah.
to be able to do
This
things.
aquarium.
Yes, no, it's fun. And I'll tell you what, we built the aquarium, we built everything around it. It's like got plumbing, everything inside of it. It's immensely easy to take care of. And my office is right on the other side of this. I sit in my office with real estate work, and every time that I'm not actually doing something, I'll just turn and I can look at that and be like, it's
Well,
just, it's super
very
nice.
calming.
Right, it is.
What is this thing?
It's a scrubber. So it's
Oh,
a magnet.
it's magnet
Yes.
scrubber. Okay.
Yeah, you just rub it on.
I figured it was a magnet, but I
Right.
okay.
Right. So yeah, no, I mean, I think people need to be, I don't know, with life now, I think that there's so many people that are dissatisfied. People look at other people's lives on social media and then the suicide rate for people is jumping very high.
Yeah, yeah.
You need to find
And
an
old
outlet.
people, one of the reasons I try to stay active and keep my brain going is I watched my in-laws who moved back to my mother-in-law's hometown and associated only with her sisters, and they got smaller and smaller and smaller. And my parents did pretty much the same thing. They moved to Tennessee where my sister and brother-in-law lived.
So you're still rebelling.
I am? I don't think so.
No.
They've been dead for years. I mean, I've been up here for years. Anyway,
Right.
maybe I am. Anyway, but not against them. It's
Right.
society in general. And they just got smaller and smaller and smaller. And I don't want to be like that.
Right. No, I get it. I totally get it. Well, we're 2 hours and 20 some odd minutes
Oh my
into it.
God.
Let's we'll wrap it up here. Like I said, we'll do it again. Like anytime that you want
This
to
would
come
be
talk.
great. Yeah.
Give
me a call. I'll come down.
I had a blast.
I'm not taking a class this semester.
There you go. Good. I'm sure we got people out there that would like to hear it. I have to do this with every podcast. If you enjoy the podcast, if you like what I'm doing, do me a favor. Subscribe on the YouTube channel. They're talking about YouTube, not knocking out a bunch of channels that are not commercially viable. Mine, I don't make any money from it. I'm just doing it for kicks. I try and decide what I'm going to try and do or what I'm going to do by the amount of subscribers I pick up with every podcast. Every podcast, I tend to pick up 2 or 3 here and there. I don't really care that much. Like, I'm not looking to ever make any money with it. I enjoyed my time this afternoon.
I had a really good time.
Good, I'm glad. We're on, you can find us on iTunes. You can find us on Google Play. The best way for me I can see the downloads and stuff, and it's doing well. But if someone would rate it, I think I got a 5-star rating on Apple, and I got I did a podcast with guns, and I had a little bit of a different opinion than the girl that was on there with me, although she was not, too crazy, and I think that they were upset about that too. And I did get one thumbs down on that because someone was, afraid I was going to come take their guns, I guess. But they're not going to take
Well,
over
everybody needs guns.
take the government over with my guns. But it's been pretty positive, everything. I get a lot of feedback from people when they watch the podcast, when I see them. I'm always surprised to hear people like that are listening to the podcast that I wouldn't think are. Like my sons were here the other day and they were like, hey, my buddy's dad wants to know where he can get the podcast besides iTunes because he listens to it in the car, but then when the screen shuts off, it shuts off the audio on his car. And I go, you just got to get on Apple and find it there. But try and let me know that you're doing it. I love to get feedback that's positive, negative, whatever. Right now I'm working 2 different cameras. The one that's on me is a 4K. The one that's on Bill is just a high definition. I can see the difference in the camera. Mine's a little bit clearer. But
That's sharper.
yeah, it's $200 for another camera, so I got to wait a little bit to get another one. But tell your buddy that's wants to do the podcast to just get on it.
Yeah.
Get on it. This is
And I'd like to put a plug in.
yeah, absolutely.
www.billmoser, BILLMOSER.net.
Yeah, no, what's there?
My paintings,
Your paintings, right? Oh, okay. Now,
and they're for sale.
right. So now, are you trying to? Is there a end goal with the painting stuff? Are you trying to Is there a show that you'll do that's not virtual, like a regular gallery type show?
I have done some of those. It's mostly virtual, partly because schlepping everything everywhere.
Yes.
And I'm
oh
old.
Gosh, that's got to be.
I'm too old for that shit these
I'm
days.
taking my podcast to. I coach youth wrestling, and I'm taking my podcast to the banquet. Come here. Taking the podcast to the banquet, and come here. I'm hearing you walk around. Come on, get up here. Get up. Up. Come on. Up. 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 Come on. Up. Yes, get up there. Get up. Up. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. People have said, we heard about the dog and stuff like that, so he's never been on there. But
there's the dog.
yes, it does take a little bit to schlep all this stuff there. My sons are pretty good about getting it all set up and everything else. But we're going to interview.
Well, paintings, you have to bring the screens to hang them on, and if you do an outside show like
is it?
the Park Forest show would be cool, but then you need the tent. And you have to take everything down at night because they aren't secure, and then you have to put it all up. And I have a small car.
Right. Oh gosh, yeah. Right. You need a trailer or something for that setup. So all right. So, but if there's anything that comes up, definitely come back and if you do any kind of show or something like that or whatnot.
We can even talk about retirement.
Right. That's what we were planning on talking about. But so yeah, check out the website. I will definitely put a link to that
thanks.
in the podcast. And otherwise, thanks for watching. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right.
Are we off?
Yep. It is amazing to me how fast.
Well, the only reason I knew was